The following conversation is with Sam Ferrans. Sam Ferrans was the first superstar of disc golf, the first wonder kid, the first phenom, whatever word you want to use. Sam is the youngest world champion of all time, winning in 1984 at the age of 16. In 1988, Sam would set the world distance record, and eventually Sam would go on working for Innova Champion Discs and Hero Disc Sports in Japan, as well here in the United States. Sam has been influential in our sport from the playing side of things as well as the promoting side of things, teaching tens, if not hundreds, of thousands of kids throughout Japan and as well as here in the United States. He also influenced a lot of disc golfers, including me. I knew of Sam when I was young. He was from California. I'm from California. And when I got to first meet and play with Sam in the year 2000, I was nervous, to say the least. Today's conversation was amazing. Sam opened up and was honest with us about his challenges of playing and being a world champion at that age, and he handled it with absolute grace. I loved this conversation, and I love Sam Ferrans. And he left us with one statement that I just love. You always leave things better than you found it. And Sam Ferrans certainly did that. And that's something that Terry and I strive for every single day. And without delay, my friends, enjoy Sam Ferrans. Without further ado, Sam Ferrans, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's
Hello,
up?
hello.
Sam Ferrans, how are you?
What's up, brothers? Good to see you. Long time.
It has been too long. So good to see you. Everything going well?
Everything is going. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, it is great to see you as well. I haven't seen you in person and gosh, I don't know how long, because even the last two tournaments that I've played out in Rock Hill, you haven't been there or we just haven't crossed paths. So it's just so good to see your face, and I'm glad you're doing well. And man, I really appreciate you doing this for us. We're just kicking this thing off, and I could not imagine a conversation, or I couldn't imagine getting this thing going without talking to you. So thank you, Sam.
Dude, I mean, this is an honor. Absolutely.
Well,
we go way back. You know that.
We do go way back, and I guess before we even get going on the whole disc golf side of things, I got to give you obviously a little bit of shit because you're a Steelers fan. And I don't actually know how the hell you became a Steelers fan. So let us know how you became a Steelers. I only know two Steelers fans in my life that aren't from Pittsburgh. One is Paul Ulibarri, and I give him shit about it, and I want to give you some. But how did you become a Steelers fan? I got to know.
Okay. Well, first off, my mother and father are from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it goes way back. My grandfather actually, if you've ever been to Pittsburgh and been up the incline, my grandfather used to be the guy that ran that up in his golden age. And he was the conductor. So we have a lot of history in Pittsburgh, mother and father. My dad was an engineer. He moved us around a bit. And I just remember, at an early age, Pittsburgh Steelers, So I was stuck with it from an early age. I wasn't a bandwagon fan, like most of them out there. I was a true blue, and I still am. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this year.
The black and gold. I mean, you got a new coach now, right?
Yeah, McCarthy, and also, I mean, I don't know if Aaron's coming back. That's a mystery. But what a crazy time! I got an Aaron Rodgers jersey. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, it is. It is insane. It's funny with McCarthy because I don't actually know. I mean, obviously I had Coach Cower, and then, your last coach, I'm blanking on his name right now. Why am I blanking on his name? Your last coach.
Tomlin.
Yeah. Sorry, Tomlin. And now you got is McCarthy a long haul guy? Because these last two guys have been long haul.
I don't know. All I know is I made a bet with Levi Wilcox. He's our art director. You know Levi?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And it was years ago. And I made this bet that it was for head shaving, of all things.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was because he's a diehard Packers fan. So I was like, I hated Rodgers at the time. And I was like, he'll never be better than Favre. He'll never have more Super Bowls than Favre. And he was like, I'll take that bet. So we have a head shaving bet. And I didn't realize at the time that they were tied. I thought Favre had 2, but they were tied at 1-1. But I said more. So we'll see. And now that Rodgers came to my team, how do I root? I mean, I don't know if I'm going to win the Super Bowl, but how do I root that on? I don't even know. I'm conflicted.
Yeah, that's a tough. Well, Terry, you're a Packer fan.
Yes. In fact, I'm right now, I'm about 2 hours south of where the Green Bay Packers play. I grew up just 30 minutes south of Lambeau Field. So certainly been there for all of that. And I remember all too well Favre's Super Bowl, not to derail it too much, but that was like freshman, sophomore year of college. And we may or may not have been having a shot of tequila every time there was a score for the Packers versus New England game. And that was 30 years ago almost. And I've barely touched tequila since.
10 years old?
No, I wish. No, I was, 17 or I was, 19 or so in college. And I hope to never touch tequila again. I think that permanently ruined me that night in that Super Bowl, but it was worth it. I mean, the Packers won. So yeah. So I guess my side question to that is with Pittsburgh Steelers, is it all Pittsburgh teams? Are you on board with, in terms of all the sports, do you cheer for Pittsburgh?
I mean, again, more of I'd like to go see baseball games. Obviously, my family's from Japan. Mm-hmm. We love Ohtani. I mean, I follow the Dodgers. I used to follow the Angels because obviously Ohtani was on the Angels. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really, but we follow our players. And I had the opportunity to go to the World Series, and we just happened to choose that. I think it was a Tuesday. It was the second longest game in history. I took my son Kenji, Hana, and my wife, and we went there. And my son was like, "So, Dad, how long does it last?" I'm like, "Well, nine innings. If they're not tied, and then there's no tiebreaker, they continue." 18 innings later, bro, I got back to Rancho Cucamonga. I had to go to work the next day, Innova, at 2 a.m. And I have to get up at 3:50. So needless to say, I was a little late that day. But it was an amazing game.
Yeah, more than worth it, and memories of a lifetime for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's times like in that situation, you just kind of, they're like, let's just keep going. I mean, we're having fun here, and Sam, you mentioned your kids. How old are your kids now?
Boy, 20, 22, and 24.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, boy. Yeah. I remember when they were just little kids running around.
Remember that? Remember that? In Japan Open? Yeah. Hana is, she's choosing her colleges right now. She just did her 2-year. Kenji is in Fire School Academy right now. Oh, he's going through that and super excited. And Kaz has graduated and doing his thing, traveling around. And man, life just goes like that.
It really does. Like I said, I remember when they were just little kids. Of course, I was a little kid as well. I mean, I just turned 40 last year, and Val's about to turn 40, and we have a 2.5-year-old. So, life changes, and in good ways, though, right?
Absolutely, man. I remember you in Santa Cruz as a little kid. I still remember that.
Yeah, I mean, let's jump into a little bit of you. And for those people that are, just meeting you for the first time, they may have never heard of Sam Ferrans before. We have a lot of newbies, new to the sport anyways. Sam Ferrans, you were what I like to think of as the very first superstar. I mean, the first superstar in our game. Now, some people might argue that one way or another, but in 1984, you won the world championship. You were 16 years old. But I want to go a little bit before that, and I want to understand, how did you get introduced to the sport in the early days?
Crazy. Again, my dad was an engineer, and he moved us around. I was born in Washington, D.C., of all places. Moved around, and my dad, we were in Oakland, California, and it was like the early 70s, and he had the opportunity to go to San Antonio, Texas, or Norwalk, California. And my mom's like, California. So because of my mother, I was moved to Norwalk area, and we settled in La Mirada, of all places. And I just, it was a split second that my dad, we could have been in San Antonio, would never have crossed paths with disc golf. And I remember driving past Santa Gertrudis with my mother and her Pinto. I don't even think, you guys see Pintos on the road anymore?
I was just going to say, kids, that's a car from back in that time.
Yes.
Yes.
Pinto.
That was my thought, right?
Yeah. Ford made it, right? It was a Ford car.
Used to do my paper route in that thing. And there was orange poles. I remember people throwing these flying objects at orange poles. That was before Ed came in. La Mirada, incidentally, is the second disc golf course to be installed. So I was there before the actual Mach 1s went in. And I just said, that looks cool. So I went up, I think I had a 40 mold. I went and bought it, and an Olympic was an Olympic signature on it. And I was like, this is really neat. So I had 2 discs, and my dad later got transferred to Taipei, Taiwan, which, remember, the Taipei, Taiwan Quarters Championship.
Yeah, the Beetle.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. God, that was so much fun.
So we got transferred to Taiwan, and I had my 2 discs, and somehow I lost them. I threw them over this hill, and it was a dike, running water. They're gone. So I didn't have a disc for a year. We were there for a year and a half, 2 years. And when I came back, when we came back to La Mirada, because we retained the house, those poles turned into Mach 1s. And then I was hooked. I was 77. So I could say that next year will be my 50th year of playing disc golf. And you might beat me on that. I don't know when you started playing, Nate, but it was young. Was it not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm born in 85, and my dad was introduced to the sport through a public broadcast, PBS, like the local affiliate in Santa Cruz, and Ed had done a video. Maybe it was an interview or something promoting disc golf. They were talking about De La Viega, and my dad saw it. And it was actually funny because I was born in Santa Cruz. My mom got a job in Antioch, California, about an hour and a half away in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay. And my mom met who I call my dad, but he's actually my stepdad. And we moved back to Santa Cruz. And the day they got their cable installed, back in the day when you'd get your cable installed, they'd come in, give you a box and everything. Nowadays, you just, log into something. But they set it up. They had it on the PBS channel, and boom, there my dad saw Ed. And he said, boy, I threw a Frisbee in college. And so we went up to De La, and that was kind of all she wrote. Now, that was in 1991.
Okay.
So, I was about 6 years old. So, I'm at 34 years. And I think, Terry, you're right around that time too, right? You're in the mid 30s.
Yeah, there's a longer story for another day about my introduction, but it was around 92, 93, somewhere in that neighborhood as well. I was a couple years older. It was between 7th and 8th grade when I had gone to camp. and was introduced to the idea of throwing a regular Frisbee into a grocery basket. Like when you only go and get a couple items. Yeah, and they had these grocery baskets hanging on trees and sitting on picnic tables. And the camp people had set up a little Frisbee golf course, and that was my first introduction to then learn there was actually discs and there was actually baskets, that were made for it. But there were regular Frisbees. I think they had Jeffrey the giraffe on them from Toys R Us, and we threw them into grocery baskets. So whatever 7th to 8th grade summer was when I found it. And it was right around that time frame, maybe a year or two later. So.
Well, forgive me for not putting you on my radar, Terry Miller. I knew Nate because Natron Doss, because I have a record to protect, still do. Mm-hmm. So he was on my radar for a while, and what a great ambassador both of you guys are.
Thank you. One of the things that so many people talk about, especially when you say, oh, you're a world champion, or you're really into this, or you do this for a living, whatever the case is, with regards to successful disc golfers, one of the first common questions I think that gets asked is, well, were you like a phenom? Did you do a lot of Frisbee stuff as a kid? Were you really into Frisbee? And I find it so crazy to hear such a wide variety of responses from, yes, I loved it. I played with it every day in the backyard with my dad or played with my siblings, all the way to, no, I never really touched one. I just all of a sudden picked it up and then fell in love with it. How would you describe your relationship with, we'll just say, the Frisbee?
Well, when I started, it was early 80s and people thought it was funny, right? I think you guys are maybe a generation beyond where we had to be the brunt of all the jokes, right? Oh, you have a dog, right?
Right.
Or disco golf, right? I got that a lot, especially at La Mirada High School. They would laugh, but then as we progressed, they were like, "Cool, man! I heard you won that tournament," kind of thing. And I said, I had a paper route when I was a kid, and I also cut lawns. But then as I started to play tournaments, I didn't need to do that anymore. So it was a validation. And I've always had a love for it. It was my family. My dad was like, Dad, Sam, why don't you get out and start swinging the clubs, right? What are you doing out there? There's a lot, Mom was like, there's a lot of seedy looking people at the park. So they were worried, and I think I've told the story before, but Dan Mangoni of Discovering the World was my first real coach. That later, the big guy, Dave Dunapace, but he was teaching me the thumber. You guys ever do the thumber?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was doing the thumber, and I got a bruise on my arm. And after a while, when I came home, my mom's like, "What is that bruise?" And she went right up to Dan. She's like, what are you doing to my son? Mangoni's like, Angela, it's just the thumber. So after that, they became, very good friends. He's, we still keep in contact. He's doing his thing at Discovering the World still. And just what a history and just to be involved, with that whole culture was, it's just something that I don't think I can even pass to my kids other than just tell the stories. It's a lifelong treasure.
Well, I feel like something that's totally understandably connected is just ultimate. There's the world of freestyle, and then there's all the other disciplines and DDC and, all those other things. But it usually feels like if you're involved, you came from one of two camps more often than not. You're either an ultimate player, maybe you found disc golf as a way to slow yourself down, or you're, moving into retirement age from playing ultimate, and then you discover disc golf, or you're just an overall Frisbee fanatic, and maybe you're dabbling in both, or whatever the case might be. Was ultimate ever a thing that either interested you back in the day, or even as your disc golf career progressed, was ultimate a conversation? Because it feels like so many more people knew ultimate and learned to love ultimate.
Terry, I'll tell you, I joined cross country so I could get 6th period and play at La Mirada Disc Golf Park. Okay. I was last place in running. I hated running.
Okay.
There was no freaking way I was going to play ultimate. And I was in the power sports at the United States Disc Golf or U.S. Disc Golf Championships. My I guess my strength was disc golf, distance, disc golf and distance mainly. And then we had all the other ones, DDC, which was tough. You had to work with somebody. Freestyle, not one of my better disciplines. Accuracy, not bad. Used to play with the Innova Apple. I think that mold's been retired. I was actually pretty good at MTA and SCF. So all that was amazing, and because of that event, which was the Olympics of our sport in the 80s, I met amazing people. I met the Swedish disc golf team, still friends to this day: Paul Broström, Matt Spinkston, Jonas Loft, Thomas Ekstrom, all those boys, and that was the day. Thomas Palmer, that dude, he was scary, and it was the Swedes were the reason why Dave trained me to set the record, with the Phoenix. And then also the Japanese team. The Japanese team came, stayed at my house, ate my mom's beef stroganoff, ate my father's steaks. And as a result, I landed a career with them for 8 years in Tokyo, Japan, at Hero Disc back then. So it really was, again, life changing. All the movements, San Antonio or Norwalk.
Right.
My goodness, it was just like that. And for the viewers out there, it can be just like that.
Yeah.
That just can be like that.
I've got to say, I mean, you were talking earlier about how that one decision, changed your life in so many ways, and things could have changed. I mean, I bring that up all the time. I just imagine a situation where my dad didn't, watch the public broadcasting station that day, and got introduced to something else in Santa Cruz when we came back in that time. I tell the story all the time at Bevel, our business, all of our tanks are named, and the names, there's 3 of them that are named. They were the 3 original tanks that we had. And one of them's named Steady Ed, and one of them's named Leroy, and the other one is named Morrison, for Fred Morrison.
Wow.
And people go, well, hey, where'd you get these names? And I always tell the story. Without these 3 men, I'm not standing here right now talking to you, because my life would be completely different. And I just love that you had said that, because it was one split-second decision by your mom to tell your dad, and now we're here talking today. So I absolutely love that part of it. Sam, you were saying, so it was 76. Did I have that number right? 76 was the first time you played, or was that when you guys came back from Taipei?
76, 77. Okay. I'm saying, probably next year is the 50.
Yeah. Okay. Year. So you're about 10 at that time, 10 years old. Okay.
9 to 10.
Yeah. And you come back from Taipei, there's these baskets there now, you're getting out and playing a lot more. How far away did you live? I mean, could you just walk?
Yeah, man. I was right around the corner. A lot of those kids, like Bobby Music, he lived right across the street. You know him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Steve Valencia lived that close, but one of my earliest buddies who went to La Pluma Elementary with me is Michael Brignoni. He still works for Innova. He's a player, great guy. Mark Molnar, Mike Molnar, the brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All of them, we all grew up together. I mean, they were there. They were in the juniors with me, and it was quite a time. Craig Leyva. Craig Leyva was
lefty.
Yeah,
lefty.
He threw the disc so fast and hard, even further than me, that the hot stamp would come off the disc, and it would take some time to catch up to the disc. That's true. You've seen him
Craig.
throw, right?
Oh yeah, Craig. I mean, I've played with Craig at many tournaments. In fact, played with him out in Rock Hill a couple of years, and actually one year, this was probably 04, 05, 06 in that range. We were doing the distance contest, after the tournament, off the, from the over the hill, over the lake, and kind of, everything's happening. And then they get, Leva up there, Laviar, right? Everybody's hollering his name. Dude rips an AVR over the lake. And when that thing hit the grass, I mean, it just barely, the water, the grass. Oh, it hit the water, the grass. I mean, the crowd went insane.
Yeah.
And boy, that was a big moment just to see Laviar throw one over the water there.
Love that guy.
When you're playing as a kid, you find it, you're able to walk right to the course, which I love when that was a thing, which is a whole nother conversation about course development today, because I think of a Barry Schultz who used to walk to Valrath Park, one of the oldest courses in Wisconsin, and that's how he got his start, along with a lot of others. When you're walking over there, at what point are there mini tournaments? Are there leagues? Are there monthlies? Whatever term people want to use today. But is there any kind of organized activities going on that then are saying, "Oh, hey, this is happening," but hey, in a few weeks or a few months, we've got a world championship, or we've got some other tournaments. What is, obviously this is all pre-internet, pre-cell phones, all of those things. What is some of that? Are you getting a newsletter as a kid at 10 years old and putting it on a calendar? How does all that communication and education work?
No newsletters.
Okay.
But when it all started, there was just 3 divisions. It was men's, women's, and juniors. That was it.
Yep.
And that's how it all started. And Mangoni was instrumental in starting all that. He'd have some weeklies. There would be somebody, Tom Pitchford, or I believe his name was Keckler. And he would come out and he would be the guy to do the Wednesday rounds, collect the money. It was money rounds, basically.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we would do that. And those were fun with the La Mirada bench boys. Most of them are no longer with us. But boy, oh boy. I would look forward to those. And then there would be monthlies. There would be monthlies at Oak Grove back then. That's the first disc golf course that ever went in. That's the first one. And then La Mirada and Huntington Beach, I believe, was second or third. Huntington Beach. I used to have to take the bus because I was too young to drive. But I would go down there. That was a great course. Whittier Narrows was an earlier course. It's still there to this day. It's a beautiful course to play if you're ever out. And then I think Washington may have been the 4th or 5th course to go in, and then just blossomed after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just word of mouth back then, Terry. Word of mouth. Yeah. And it was fun. I mean, we look forward to it.
When it comes to the style of, you just described maybe how often they happen, but when you showed up, did it feel like this is hardcore competition? You guys are cutthroat? Is it doubles because you're trying to teach others how to play? Like, I just think about all the different ways that we go out and have competitive golf now, or maybe not even competitive, more social than it is competitive. And there's just 100 different leagues and styles that happen today in present day. What was it like then in terms of, especially you being a younger kid, compared to the other adults that were there? What was the kind of the vibe, for lack of a better term, when you showed up and there's 20, 25 of you, 30 of you, or 10? I don't know. When you showed up, what was it like at the park?
Well, it was, I started as a junior. So I started playing in the junior divisions, but then when I got better and we were playing for money, of course we want to win. It was cutthroat. It was singles. It wasn't doubles. We weren't splitting money. Yep. And that was the reason why I could quit my paper route and lawn cutting job. And it just progressed. And you learn, and you guys know, you learn how to compete. You learn how to compete. You learn how to survive. You want to win at all costs. And there's rules, and you want to make sure that you're abiding by the rules, and you want to crush. I mean, you want to win. And it was survive or die, basically. And that's the way we did it at La Mirada. And I thank them for that, because I learned a lot from that competitive Viking, spirit.
I mean, absolutely. And you've carried that through to this day, Sammy. I still see that Viking in your eyes, my friend. But, I mean, it's funny. The more you're talking about your early introduction, me and you we're parallel lines, just a few years apart. I was born in 85. You were born in 67. But I mean, we're just parallel lines, because this is all exactly the same way it was for me. Yeah, I got introduced with my dad, but then it was sort of these, I don't want to use the word degenerates, because they're not. They're good dudes. They all, but from the outside looking in.
Bench boys, brother. Bench boys.
Yeah, they're these guys that could end up hanging at a disc golf course 7 days a week. Yeah. They never had a job, but they also never needed money. I don't, they always had $5 to gamble. But I had my first gambling introduction as a disc golfer at 9 years old. Now it was a doubles, and Jim Hagan, I know you know Jimmy.
Oh, love Jimmy.
Yeah, he was like, he raised his hand. We used to flip, right, on Sunday mornings. He raised his hand. He said, "I'll take Nate." And that very first one, we actually got into a playoff for the win. And we get to the beginning of the playoff, and Hagan says, "Hey, every putt you miss in this playoff, you owe me $5." And
what?
I mean, Jimmy, it's like okay, I'm not missing. We got up in position on one. I putted first. I made the putt on one. They also birdied. And then we got to two, and they had missed their putt. And I had about a 20-footer. And at 9 years old, I'm putting to just not lose $5. And I think that all eventually worked its way out as I became more competitive. But one thing I want to touch on a little bit, Sam, because I think you and I, we've talked about this a little bit, in private. It's like you felt like Mangione, Dave, these were your coaches. These were guys that sort of trained you. This is not something that we really talk about these days as far as disc golf. It feels very individual. A lot of other sports, including golf, these golfers really rely on their coach. They just execute on the swing. But in disc golf, it seems like we always have to do a lot of that on our own. What's your opinion on that coach-player relationship, and how important, say, those two guys were to you, and maybe how important that could even be for some players to this day even?
Well, it's good to have a bond. I mean, it's not just coaching. For me, it was more, it was brought to me. Mangoni was right there. I used to work in Orbiter's Odyssey, which is a horse trailer, and he used to sell the discs out of the horse trailer, and it was snacks and 42 molds, right? Step right up. A lot of fun. And I was kind of part of that culture. So Mangoni was instrumental in telling me about the bigger tournaments. I went to the 1983 Santa Cruz World Championships. I look up the stats. I don't know if I did very well in golf, but there wasn't targets. They could have had targets. Well, they could have targets, but they didn't in Santa Cruz, in your neck of the woods.
Right.
I played there. And I think I was 16th in golf. You can look it up. It wasn't great, but I remember playing some of the original holes on the green posts. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I played those. And that was fun. And then I won MTA. So I'm the 1983 MTA world champion. And I beat Doug Drawbon in my last throw. I had like a 14-second MTA throw. So it was crazy. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. MTA is cool, but I love golf. And then Mangoni was telling me about this tournament in Rochester. And he's like, you got to join this organization. And back then there wasn't internet or anything. You can't just get on and sign up. So 2 weeks before the event, I sent in my registration to the PDGA. There's still contention about that. I wasn't officially a member.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not going to name names, but man, give me a break. And so, yeah, I went there. I was already playing well at that time. Had walking pneumonia, long story short. Recovered from that and was able to make the trip. And boy, oh boy, that was the start of it. And Mangoni was instrumental. Oh, Mangoni said, I'll get you out there. I'll pay for your plane ticket.
Oh, okay.
But if you win, you have to give me Paul Mary's Frisbee collection, which was on the line. Paul Mary had his Frisbee collection along with the prize money. And I'm like, no, I don't need a Frisbee collection. No problem. So, needless to say, Mangoni made a good choice because he got Paul Mary's Frisbee collection. 10 years earlier, Dan Stork-Roddick won a car from Paul Mary.
Yes.
Remember that?
In Rochester.
In Rochester. That was the American Flying Disc Open.
Yes.
And the American Flying Disc Open went to the World Championships in 1984 in Rochester.
Right. Yep.
Royce Rosnowski, he was amazing. He was my chaperone when I got there and took care of me. Just fantastic memories. And later, Dave was when I was playing past Rochester and past Helsingborg in Sweden in 85. Then I started playing, with the big guys. And I always saw Dave and Harold and Frank Aguilera, who had the world record at that time, and Scott Zimmerman, big guys. I just remember going, man, those guys are good, and Dave kind of took me under his wing and started training me for the world record. And that took me about a year to finally get the Anheuser throw. They called it the Swedish Anheuser at the time. And later we changed that name.
So many details to follow up on within that, but I want to go back just for a second to, you are flying from California out to New York. You said Royce was your chaperone. I mean, he's then presumably waiting at the airport for you. He's picking you up. He's bringing you to his house or to the airport or whatever. And then every day it's like, oh, hey, tea time's at 8:30 this morning. Let's get going. Like, he's walking you through all those steps. I mean, you're 16 at that time, right? And is there an X on your back? In terms of knowing that you're this up and comer, are you still relatively unknown throughout the circuit because you haven't done anything else necessarily, earth shattering at that point? What is all of that like in terms of, you're this kid on the other side of the country and you're playing in a world championships where somebody else is helping you out?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely an X. I mean, it's like, Nate, it's like, oh, the golden child, right? And we hear, but you can't be that good, kind of thing. And they wanted to. I mean, I'll say it. David Greenwell, you know him.
Mm-hmm.
Love that guy. Michael Sullivan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He can burn a hole right with his eyes, right through your soul. Right, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen that stare. And very competitive and great guy. He was at my wedding in Japan, by the way. Boy, oh boy, Johnny Saez, one of the most classy guys. He was classy. He's still classy. All those guys are classy. I just remember that. Yeah, it was tough. I mean, it was tough, especially I had 5-stroke lead going into the last 18 holes, and I lost 3 of them in the first 2 holes. Boy, that's tough. And had to kind of just calm down and get my bearings and make the shot,
Yeah.
And that shot.
When you're showing up, how many you got a whole bag? How many discs are you carrying? Name off a few of the molds that you have, and do you have backups? I mean, for one that gets cracked on a tree or somehow lost in either long grass or wherever else, or in a pond.
Yeah, but we didn't really. I mean, people had bags. I don't think I had a bag. I think I had. It was crazy. I mean, there was only a few discs back then, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an AVR. I had an XD.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an Arrow. And then I had a backup AVR and a towel. Maybe a few more discs. I might be exaggerating a bit, but there wasn't much to it. I remember purple AVR, man, purple AVR, beadless purple AVRs, and I threw the Arrow on. That was the one that turned it around on the. They called it the top of the world back then, but it was Ellison Park and it's straight down, and I was on 4th in the box because I lost 2 strokes on the last hole. It was brutal, and I just got my bearings and released the disc. I felt good. When you feel that release, and you could feel it just come right off the fingers, and you feel the snap, and it's everything you can give it. I knew it was good, and it just kept going and going and going. And all the other guys were sprinkled around the hole. This is not a hole that you birdie, and it was 400 plus feet, and it hit right next to the pole and dinked the poles right under the pin. And from that point, I just continued and gained momentum and came out with the win.
How much did the Junior Worlds from the previous year, because I know that it was a close situation with Junior Worlds, right? I believe in 83. It was very close. I don't know the details, and hopefully you can clarify that for us. But how much did that competition, being at the Junior World Championship, ultimately affect you for that moment, playing that final round, losing some strokes, and sort of dealing with that pressure at such a young age?
That was the SeaWorld Junior World Championships, and that Dan went out with me on that one. And it was the same kind of principle. You had all different disciplines, freestyle and accuracy, and it wasn't DDC. I don't think we had SEF. We had golf. And I ended up losing to Jean-Luc Foray from Canada by 0.4 of a point. 0.4 because of some stupid freestyle move.
What?
Anyway. I'm not bitter, but I was 15, and then that kind of set me up with I never want to lose like that again. And then I went on in '83 for the U.S. Open, played, and I took second to Steve Bentley. I always remember their names, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on the last putt, I dinked the putt to tie, and it was like this can't happen. So I had a number of months to practice for Rochester, and I just remember just saying, can't happen. And I think that's when I was losing those strokes in the first 3 holes, I said, not going to happen again. So yes, Nate, you're right. That junior experience, and it was a wonderful experience. I still have the pictures and the trophies, and that's something that set me up to know that this was something that wasn't a fad, right? This validated what I was doing, and the fact that I was traveling and went to Sweden in 85 and made all these friends. And it's like, this is something that's going to stay with me, and this is going to build me. And if we didn't go to Norwalk, if we didn't make these decisions, I would never have my wonderful wife or my 3 children. So all of it, it's all related, brother.
Yeah. No, and Sam, like that's exactly where I am these days. I reflect on all these tiny little things that happened, and sometimes I do actually say, like, why me? Why, like, how did this happen to me? And I know it's just in our little world and all of the people that we interact with, but it is, it's cool. It's cool, and I think that's why we are so dedicated to telling these stories and keeping the game going, and seeing it grow. And as we get into this conversation, I do certainly want to talk about the current state, but just to jump back. So you have these really tough, losses. It's, one stroke, 4/10 of a point. Oh my God, that had to be brutal. You get there 84. You're 16, you're the wonder child, and you find yourself with a lead going into that final round. Do you have that feeling of like, is this really happening? Or, as you said, maybe were you just so focused on not losing that same way?
I think I was so, because I play La Mirada every day,
Yeah.
every day. And that's what molded my game. I just think I just went into autopilot, because after you stop practicing like that and you lose that ability to win consistently, that's heartbreaking, you know it. And even to this day, multiple world time champion. And it's tough because I'm playing with Nate Doss, right? I just beat him by 6 strokes, right? That's tough.
Yeah.
And it's tough for me too, brother,
Yeah.
But the thing is you can only do it for a certain period of time. And then you have to have an exit strategy. And I always told my team members when I was the team manager, you have to have an exit strategy. This is not the Grateful Dead tour. You can't keep going on forever, right?
Yeah.
And that was I think the wisest thing I told them. Make sure you have an exit strategy, right? And it's important for those that aren't in the 0.4 percentile, right? That can make it in the sport. And I think that'll change over years. But yeah, it's definitely something that you can reflect on.
Yeah. Go ahead,
I was going to say, just thinking about the practicality of it, and maybe this kind of is a testament of the time, or it's maybe even a testament to some bookkeeping. But I'm looking at your world title, 1984, and you won it. PDGA at least has you listed it as winning $1,000. Johnny Size taking second, winning $550. Greenwell, Tom Monroe, so on and so forth. Michael Sullivan. Doesn't say that they won any money. So I don't know if it was really that cutthroat and there wasn't any money after that point, or if it just didn't get accurately recorded. But nonetheless, 140 competitors is what the field was for that title that you win. Clearly there's life-changing moments, after winning a competition. You can go from being, expected to win to, or you could be a nobody, and all of a sudden you're now on this large stage. I think of an Ida Letamaki, at the 2025 Worlds, who not necessarily well known. She's 15, and the next thing you know, she's vying for a world title. I guess the question is, even back then, was it just assumed, well, okay, this guy's in Frisbee sports, we got to have him touring, he's got to be playing, somebody's got to sponsor him, or let's get him a job, or maybe he's going to be a coach and a player? Like, what are the career outlooks and options like at that point?
No, there was nothing like that, Terry.
Okay.
Back then, it was, I think it was nobody knew me for my junior, accolades, but they knew me from the few tournaments I played, the United States or U.S. Open Flying Disc Championships. And Greenwell knew me. Greenwell knew me quite well because I was the guy in a hole 13 getting his discs out of the lake. He was like,
is that because you were a kid and he forced you to? He's like, kid, go retrieve my frisbees.
Here's $1. No, I love that. I still love him. He's part of our history. He's fabric, of disc golf. And I remember him. Quite well. And it wasn't quite like that at all. It was more of but later on, yes, I would say that it turned into how you're describing.
Yeah.
Is tournament out then? I guess with that, I mean, there's obviously a lot less tournaments, and these are all word of mouth. Are you guys all looking forward to the next tournament? And is it, practice, play league, do all those things, live your life until just the next tournament comes along? And, is there anticipation for other events, or is just there the one or two pinnacle events like the World Championships? What is that tournament scene and the anticipation for it like?
There was tournaments. They started to come about. The Wintertime Open's been with us for 50 years. La Mirada Open's been with us forever, Huntington Beach. But what I remember, which was kind of instrumental, was our team tournaments, our team challenges. And the way we had it was kind of brilliant back then. It was a team challenge board, and we would have this board of 40 people that were on the team and these little hooks, and your name would be on the hook. You'd be like number 7, and you could challenge up 3.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
But if you lost, you went down 3 and everybody moved up. If you won, then you took the spot of the dude that you just, or the lady that you just crushed, and put him back down into your spot. So I love that. That was one of the big things. That was the thing that got me. I think it honed my competitive skills. The challenge board. I wish that would come back somehow.
In some way, is that kind of where we're at with just bag tags? People show up, you've got a tag, it's numbered 1 through 200 within your club, and then you challenge people. I think maybe it feels a little less official when everyone just throws all 200 tags in and then you hand them out, based on how you finish that day. But was that kind of like maybe even the precursor to tag challenges?
Maybe, but they did a bad job, because I like the fact that you could see it. You walk up and you can see who's the last place guy versus the first. I mean, I like that. I like to see it right there.
Right.
Public humiliation is part of it.
Is that mounted at the course, or is that a board that TDs? Okay, so it's just mounted at the course, and you're like, hey, I see who number 4 is, and I'm number 7. I'm going after number 4 this week.
Yes, and it was Dan Mangoni placed it right on when you come in La Mirada at hole 1, you walk and there's a tennis court. It was right on that fence there, and that was something else. I love that.
Yeah, that is cool. I do like that a little bit better. I like how it's sort of this public forum. Yes. Right? It's with bag tags, like, wait, who's got one? And then they don't show up that week. And they protect it a little bit. There was no protecting, right? I mean, unless you just didn't show up to the course.
No, it was like knock on the dude's door. Get out here.
We're playing.
We're going.
Yeah, you knew.
You can't call him on the cell.
Yeah.
Right?
Couple of things. Jason Koch, right?
Love Jason.
I mean,
Koch.
Jason was a llama boy, right? Or was he a little bit after you?
Yeah, second generation, more of a Steve Valencia generation.
Okay.
Those guys.
Yeah.
But very, very, very good family, good kid.
Yeah, and he lived right in the neighborhood there. I mean, and I think he could walk. And he always talks about La Mirada and how much that meant. The other thing I was thinking while we've been talking was, Stork winning the car in Rochester, you, the youngest world champion of all time, and I mean probably, well, I think hopefully forever, and then 99, Ron Russell breaks the streak of Ken Climo, all in Rochester. What's up with Rochester? Is it in the water? I don't know.
I don't know, man. Talk to Royce. Might not be the water.
other things over there.
Yeah, true. So you win this world championship. You're 16. You come home. You got to go back to school, obviously. It's not like, you just go off and party for a week or two. But what's that like? I mean, I know what it's like to be world champion at 20. I had a job. I wasn't in, well, I was right. Yeah, I didn't have a college class at that time, but I was still in college, but I had a job, came home, went back to work, and they said, "Hey, how'd you do this weekend?" I said, "Well, I won." And they're like, "Wait, what? You're the world champion now?" What? Like, I know that experience. What was it like for you? I mean, 16, did you go to the course and be like, "Hey guys, I actually won it"? Or, I mean, because there was no way to get that information out. What was the experience like right after winning this thing?
Yeah, Mangoni already knew because we
Royce called or you called.
I called him up and hey, you got your collection, right?
Right.
And he was over the moon, and he had a little. I can't really remember the details, but everybody was welcoming. It was like, and even the guys from Team Challenge, and the whole reason behind that Team Challenge board is we competed against San Diego, Huntington Beach, Oak Grove, later Arizona, all of them. Snapper Pearson would run
Santa Cruz. Yep.
All of those groups would just sending their West Coast good job, and it was that was cool because it was no longer us against me against them. It was like, this is for the West Coast, right? And then my father would show up at tournaments. Then after that, like, hey, throw the aviator on this hole. There's a crosswind. I'm like, where did you show up? You wanted me to swing clubs. Oh yeah, it was full. It all converged, it was disc golf community and my family. And that was enough for me to just continue.
Yeah, it was validating. That's the word that I would use for me too, because I went through all that stuff of being sort of made fun of. What do you play frisbee golf with all the dope heads up at De La Viega, kind of deal, and then all of a sudden, and I had some close misses, and I won Junior Worlds when I was 15, and all those things. But that Worlds. In 2005, my basketball coach called me and said, "Dude, you did it," because it was in the newspaper. "You did it. Congrats." So it felt validating for me at that time.
Yes, brother.
I think about so much what you said about your parents, and even to this day, there's still some parents that are skeptical because there's so many sports for kids to get into, and you either recognize, hey, this could be a career. If you're part of that, 0.0001%, there could be a professional career, or this is maybe just a hobby, or this is a way to keep you out of trouble. There's so many different angles that, of course, sports enrich all of us. And then even parents are looking at that saying, okay, this isn't maybe, a lifelong thing for you, but it's still good for you to be involved because of the lessons and everything else. I think of my daughters that way. When it's having your dad and having your mom, was there ever a conversation, and I know it was a different world, but a conversation about it being any kind of career, whether it was playing or involved in any other way? Or was it just still like, cool, you're where are you going this weekend? Oh, I'm going to go throw Frisbees again. Like how serious was it even after you're crowned world champ?
Well, I was always, my parents wanted me to go to university, and I was always geared towards that, and I did that, but they were along for the ride, with that United States Disc Golf Championships and the Japanese and the Swedes and the Norwegians coming. It was they were part of the family, and then Nobia Kobayashi and Kobo Shimbosang told me, hey, after you graduate from university, you come work for us. So that was, okay, that's something. So all of I went to Cal State Fullerton, and all of my buddies are like, I got to do this interview with UPS. And I'm like, I'm dreading it. I'm like, I don't have to do that. I'm just going to get my diploma and head on to Tokyo. So it was one of those things, it was like another thing, it's like, I'm not saying it wasn't easy. It was just, it was magical. And I was able to go and spend 8 glorious years there, putting courses in, doing demonstrations, work in the barbecue garden, it was, and then again, meeting my wife, Kimiko, that is something else,
Well, before we get more into Japan, because I think when Nate and I think Japan, we, of course, you're the first for us. You're the institution that was Japan Disc Golf, the conduit that connected all of us to disc golf over there. But even prior to that, on a broader scale, international disc golf, now it's commonplace. Now it's every day. We have tons of discs made internationally. We see international players, international superstars, and everything in between. And it's so much more common. They're coming here for months at a time. And, we just had our first Worlds over in Finland, in 2025. But what was that first international, relationships like? And was it just bizarre that they're traveling to the other side of the world for Frisbee? I mean, it's almost weird today. What was it like 25, 30 years ago?
Well, it was more of us going over there.
Okay.
Right. And sometimes, they would come, but it was actually less of us. And there was a world championship in Helsingborg. The Japan Open attracted people, and then there may have been a Stockholm Open. But for the most part, Japan Open, I think, was like you say, that was the conduit to allow people to come over and not only experience a world-class event, but the culture. You guys have been to the Japan Open.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen it. It's not just, it's not just a tournament. It's a disc golf cultural adventure. And I'm proud of it. I'm super proud to have been part of that. And I hope that in 2027, that you boys will make it on over again.
Oh boy, sign me up. I would love to be there. I still to this day, I now have a full-time job and I work at Bevel all the time. And people go, if you could go anywhere on vacation, where would it be? I say Japan. There's not it doesn't even hesitate a second that I'm like, I want to go to Japan. And I just like being there. And I'm not saying that I'm loud and big and, you know how that is, Sam, but they still appreciate that. And just the people are so friendly. And then you sort of, you change the way you are too, and I just Japan has always been that for me. Even in the early days when I came over, the very first time I went over, I brought my Xbox and I didn't eat sushi and I was just some dumb kid. And then, my 7th trip, I didn't bring any of that. I'm just like, where's the food? Let's do the food and all that. So
speaking of the Japan Open, how does it come about? At what point, who's sitting around in a room and says, hey, let's try to get players from around the world to all come here? Are you part of that conversation and facilitating it? Kind of give us a little the origin of the Japan Open.
1985. Again, we had Kozo Shimbo and Nobuya Kobayashi, who was at the house. And Nobuya was a sports writer at the time, and they also did Hero Business, which was outdoor recreation, barbecue gardens, and relay marathons, and outdoor and disc golf. And so I was the guy that was sort of their conduit to Innova at the time before I started working for Innova. And then they had me over in '85 to play in the Lark Open. It was tobacco company of all things. And it was $1 million back then.
Wow.
$1 million, which was a lot of money, you know? And Crazy John Brooks ended up winning that, which he should be on your show, by the way.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Natron.
He will be.
I mean,
Natron.
he officiated my wedding. There's no doubt we're talking to Crazy John.
Yeah, very cool. And so that kind of started it off. I think I won the first event, which was kind of unofficial, but the big one was the Tokyo Lark Open in '85. Crazy John Brooks took that down. David Greenwell was there, Scott Zimmerman was there, Tammy Pelicane. It started with that, and there was like 8 or 9 of us, and then there was 18, and then there was 30, and then there was 50, and it kept going on and on and on until we broke the record, before obviously Europe happened and UC and his amazing things that he did. We had the most international participants at the Japan Open, like 145 people, which I was very proud of.
Yeah, it's funny, and I know that there was a contingent of you and several others that had gone to Sweden for the first time years and years before we ever went to Finland for the first time. But that just reminds me of Finland. 2006, there was about 7 Americans that went. Dave Felberg, Avery Jenkins, King Climo, myself, Burl, Val, Terry Roddy, of all people, and this guy, Dana Lawton. You actually might know Dana.
I know Dana.
Yeah, because Dana has lived in Japan, and similar story to yours with his wife and all that. But that was like the group. That was the group. And then the next year, it was more people, like 3 more people. And now it was 8 Americans. And then 2 years later, it was 12. And then, then we have a world championship there. So I love that. I love that kind of slow build to it, as far as sort of taking disc golf from, our homeland in the U.S. to other places to showcase it, right? And then the real like putting a stamp on it is, say, like for us, a Nicholas Antila, right? Winning a major just 2 weeks ago. He was a kid who watched us play when we first went over there. So we haven't quite had that with Japan, where we've had that big winner. But I mean, we've had several Japanese players do so great playing over here. Manabu is the one that I think of the most. Can you continue to elaborate on your Japan sort of experience? So after college, Kozo Shimbo-san offers you this job, you get the college degree, and now you're going to Japan. Elaborate on those 8 years if you could. Take as much time as you want. I'm just very curious about how that all went down.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I've been over there like 16 times before, right? For events and things like that. And then I got there and I was actually living in the same building as where the office was. I was on the 2nd floor and Hiro was on the 4th floor. So the first time I was late to work, I told them that it was heavy congestion.
In the stairwell? In the elevator?
Michi wa konderu desu. It's very, very, very congested. They're like, oh. The second time wasn't received so positively. So I made sure I was 10 minutes early and always 15 minutes early before. And that's always a good rule of thumb. I almost gave up because it was tough, It wasn't just going there and then coming back, right? So after and trying to learn the language, when I went over there, I knew I took basic Japanese. I knew hiragana, katakana, which is the syllabary, the English version, like biru. You know that one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Biru.
Yep.
Biru.
Yep.
Right? You know that one.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. Biru. Beef steaky. Right? And then there's the other syllabary for the Japanese language, katakana, hiragana, I think so, which is the regular arigato, right?
Yeah.
So you write it out that way. And kanji is a whole different world,
right?
A whole different world. And that's something that I would never.
You got to be born into that, right? I mean, you got to learn that from a little kid. I never quite got into that, but I knew that. I knew watashi wa Samu desu. My name is Sam. Kore wa pen desu. This is a pen. Basically, before I went over. But as I was there living, I learned the street language. And at 4 months, I was like, I'm not going to get it. Maybe perhaps it's time for me to go to San Antonio. Right. Right. Make the pivot. Make the pivot.
Right. Make a pivot. And I hung in there for a few more months. And then I had my first dream in Japanese. I had my first dream. And then I knew, I was like, okay. And I'm starting to acclimate, right? And that's kind of when it turned around for me. And I was doing a lot of demonstrations. Shimbo-san and I were doing Sasagawa Sports Foundation, going all over. I've been to more places than my wife. I've been to Hokkaido and all Kyushu from the top to the bottom doing demonstrations for local sports organizations, Sasagawa Sports Foundation. And then they would communicate, and then we would put a course in, or we would go there all year round to do disc golf demonstrations and frisbee, to teach how to throw to the kids. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time. And the time went very quickly. And I might have still been there. I mean, I lost my brother unexpectedly in 99, and that's when I came back. And Dave Dunapace immediately said, you're with us now. So he brought me. And that's when I officially started with Innova. It's been 25 years with the big guy. I sit next to the big guy every day, play with the big guy on Saturday and Sunday. We have so much fun, and I couldn't be more thankful.
I was just going to say, we always talk about, even to this day, all these years later, get it in schools, get it in churches, youth groups, introduce it to the next generation. We have things like Edge, we have Uplay, and then thousands of other people that do it, under their own, branding or whatever, or just do it out of the goodness of their heart at a Boy Scout camp or whatever the case might be. When you're introducing it, even back then, what does vying for attention look like with these kids? Is how important is recreational activity? How much Western culture and influence is there over there that, whether it's baseball or any other sports? Like, what is it like introducing and truly being like the Johnny Appleseed of disc golf? What's that like, introducing it to an entire country, decades ago?
We had a captive audience, as you know, Japan. I mean, kind of set it up to hit a home run. I mean, here, put the disc in your hand this way, grip it, throw it this way. Here's a curve shot. Here's Shimbo-san and I doing curve shots. And everyone's like, whoa, because we're going over their heads, right? And then, ooh, here's a straight shot. Okay, here's a curve shot. Okay, let's get the principle out there, right in the middle. And then spread your legs. Okay, put your hands over the right and skip it right through their legs, and they love that one. They love that one. Oh yeah, so there was all kinds of gimmicks that we did, and they just loved us. And that, again, the word validation. It just keeps coming back. It's something else, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of all those moments. One time I did hit the principal
Yeah.
you gotta hit somebody every once in a while. I mean, that's
Just to prove you're human.
Yeah, that kind of makes it fun, in my opinion.
And they might have liked that. One of the questions that was literally just asked to me a few days ago, we were talking about disc golf in Japan. I think we were even talking actually about the when the Japan Open was returning. For everyone, a lot of people, one of the few things they know about disc golf is that Japan had forever 150 class constraint in terms of disc weighing a certain weight. That has seemingly gone by the wayside in the last few iterations of the tournament there in the last decade or so. I feel like no one knows it better than you. Can you give the full story as to why the weight restriction, and then what were the conversations were like to reduce or eliminate the weight restriction that we have or don't have?
I was actually part of that, and it's interesting. Showa Cohen, Tachikawa. Were you at the Niche Tachikawa Inn? Did you ever do that one?
The first year I went was the first year of Nasu Highlands, but the previous group, the Val's, like I think it was Val's last year, maybe they got that experience at Tachikawa, playing at Showa. Yeah, I've played Showa Park with a great group of people, but I never played it for the tournament, and I never got that Shimbo hotel experience, which is just, I mean, epic from what I understand. So yeah, keep it going.
So yeah, I mean, basically that was a cash cow for our company. That was the barbecue garden. That's where it all started. They later went on, which is another story. They later went on for and started putting more barbecue gardens in all across Japan, called Hero Field. Very successful. So that barbecue garden was part of disc golf. So what we were doing was the park, we wanted to have a tournaments there, and the park was saying, no, we can't. These discs are too sharp. They're too sharp. So we want you to use these. And they were giving us some Humphrey Flyer fastbacks.
Sure.
Right. And we're like, no, we can't do that. So we brought in like the heaviest discs, like the 180s. And then later we're like, if we put this down into the lightest weights, daijobu, which means it's okay. Right? Daijobu desu. These are not the droids you're looking for. Right?
Right.
Yeah, it was a little
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, basically. And after negotiations, we were able to convince them that 150 class was the way. Right? And that's how we did that. And that kind of stuck. And Stork was a big proponent of that, obviously, because he liked the 150 class, and we did it. And then later, as years went on and the Japan Open progressed, we were on golf courses, and we were able to say, come, bring your full equipment. We want to see what you guys can do. And that's how it progressed.
Yeah.
It's what's funny to me though is you went from 100, roughly 175, 180 gram discs down to a maximum of 150, and everything pretty much was between 140 and 150. It feels like it would just have been so much more impactful if it was a larger variance, right? If it was a larger reduction. You know what I mean? Like, I know 175, for us to go out and you throw 175 all the time, and then you throw 150, it feels like a lot to us. But in the scope of the overall scale, it doesn't feel like, if you went from 180 and said, okay, now maximum is 90 or 100, that's so much more significant. So to me, and not that I'm scientific by any means, but I just think, okay, well, 25 grams, like, how much does that really matter? But
Jedi mind trick, Terry. Jedi mind trick.
Exactly. I mean, there's this perception, and we all know, sometimes perception is more important than reality. But it's a funny number. Some would accuse maybe manufacturers saying, well, it's just a way to sell more Frisbees. Any truth to that?
No, I mean, I think, we went to 150 now. We made,
Yeah,
pro class. What
159.9.
was it? It
Yeah.
was. We went to 159. We didn't go 149. We went to 159. We introduced that new class. I can't come up with what we called that. It was like 150 class pro or something. Because Steve Bamba and Steve Rico, right inside NASA Shiobata, trying to dry their discs before they weigh them in the bathroom because of hydroscopic effects. They're trying to remember that.
Oh yeah,
they're like, what are you guys doing? I'm like,
they're in the bathroom, all their discs.
0.1 gram, bro. 0.1 gram.
I mean,
they just wanted
to
that little stamp on the disc. Yes. I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. So we changed the rules.
I will say though, it was a fun process. Me being sponsored by Discraft, saying, hey, I'm going to the Japan Open. And the first time I went, which was 2006, I got all the old stuff. I was throwing Typhoons and 150 class Magnets and 150 class Cyclones, even though the discs had progressed past that. But then a few years later, we practiced and made some other molds. So I was able to throw Predators and Surges and stuff. But it was always a fun time to go and get them weighed. I never had a disc rejected, and then you get that stamp on the back. Yeah. And I still have a box just right over here of all of my discs from Japan. And they all have the stamp. I would say I'm glad you guys have gone now back to max weight. I would love to see an event where you were able to bring all of the biggest names now back, throwing their max weight and allow those Japanese fans to see these things up close and personal. I had always heard the story that it was because it was so populated in Japan, right? Because these courses are in these parks. And so you just kind of validated that story. Real quickly. And you don't have to bring your family up too much, but if you don't mind, how did you meet your wife? Did you meet your wife while you were working there? And then she came back with you, or how did that all happen?
I was in the second floor of, Nishikubo, which is in Mitaka. And Hiro was on the fourth floor, as you guys know.
Yep.
Can't be late ever.
Right.
And I was looking out my window and I saw billowing smoke coming out of this building. And I'm like, whoa. And then didn't pay any attention. And then the next day I saw it coming out the same time. I'm like, that's interesting. So I went down, and this place was called Basura. And there was this dude that kind of looked like Mick Jagger, Japanese version of Mick Jagger. Okay. And he's there, barbecuing these yakitori sticks. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? No English. Right? Osawa-san was his name. Long story short, I'm like, do you have beer? He's like, no. I have Ebisu. That's the only beer. It's like the oldest beer in Japan. He's like, he's not dealing any. He's not messing
around.
Getting
anything, yeah.
So yeah. So I went in there, and that became my institute. That's where I learned a lot. I mean, I could only afford 2 days a week because it was expensive. But I ended up meeting one of my good friends, who was kind of instrumental in me staying. And he worked for the NTT, which was Nihon.
The TV channel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was in the laboratory developing hearing aids, scientific guy. And he was like, you're after a number of meetings and stuff, you're an interesting guy. My daughter is studying in Australia right now. And when she comes back, maybe perhaps you can meet her. It was my father-in-law, Kenzo-san.
Wow.
And incidentally, Osawa-san was part of our wedding. We had our wedding at Basada.
Really?
It was a small little area. Every time I go back there, we have this little skit that I go in and I'm like, excuse me, do you have Budweiser? No. Do you have Coors? No. Do you have St. Pauli's Girl? No. Simasen, bisu biru arimasu ka? Hi. And everyone claps. So we do this here on, and it's full circle again, man, because this was in the 80s, and now he's still there, dude. The smoke is still billowing.
Wow.
And that to me is just brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, especially in a big place like that. It's great to hear that story, because it's like you were ingratiating yourself with the locals in a way, right? I mean,
I always do that, and I don't look at it like that way. I want to become them.
Yes, right,
because they are us,
assimilation,
and we are them.
Right.
You know, I'm not acting. I'm never acting. You know, and maybe that's the secret.
Yeah, I mean, except for right now, because you're acting like you kind of like us. But I get it. I see it in your.
I do like you guys. Let's talk about the quarters championship in Taipei, Taiwan. Do you remember that?
I do. I don't know how, but I do.
I was going to say, I don't know anything about it.
Avery and the Steve Perry from Germany.
Yes, Steve Perry. Yeah. So
go ahead.
It was.
Tell us all.
Well, it was my. I think this was it 2010, 2011,
yes.
2010. So it was called the Asia Open, and we were going to Taipei. Now, did you what you were influential in running the tournament, Sam, or was it?
Buddy Quan, same kind of thing. Yep. We knew him for years, and he's had me over a couple times, and I knew Taipei and I knew Taiwan, and Quan's great, as you know.
Yeah.
And he was running the event. We were a sponsor, and you were there.
The big things I remember was Quan first and foremost. I think in a way he was trying to outdo Shimbo, just in his hospitality. And this guy would pick us up in a Chrysler minivan of all things in Taipei. We'd be at the hotel. He'd pick us up. He would pick us up at all hours of the day. I mean, we're talking, it could be 8 a.m. to go play the round or practice round, or it could be 2 o'clock in the morning just to go get some food. Because I had this running joke throughout the whole week that I was always hungry. We would finish a meal and we'd get in the car and I'd say, Quan, I'm starving. I mean, can you feed me? Because in the reality he was feeding us like frick crazy. But man, Quan was amazing. Hanging out with you at the hotel. We got a little loaded after the tournament, actually. That was playing quarters. Don't ever play quarters with Sam Ferrans. I'm telling you right now. And and if you do, make sure it's only biru. Yeah. Make sure it's only biru. Quarters. No hard alcohol.
So much fun.
Yeah, that was fun. But a couple other things I really remember about that was when we played at the course, we're in this big city. Taipei is huge. And we're at this park, on the edge of the city and everything. And there was wild dogs. I still tell this story to this day to people. There was a whole pack of wild dogs that would sort of hang out on the edge of, one of the holes, and they'd be up on this little hill. And, we just steered clear of them. But, I'm like, wild, that's kind of very, when you're in Taipei, you see them running around the streets too. And then the biggest thing, and this was how I was able to assimilate, was the beetle nut. Okay.
Oh yes,
it's like
bro.
A tobacco. It's not tobacco, but it gives you that kind of tobacco-y high. You chew on it. All the locals chew on it, and it turns your mouth red. Okay.
It does.
And when the locals would see a red mouth, I mean, it was like bees to honey, man. They were just, so that was fun. You got me going on the beetle nut, Sammy.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. I enjoyed it. I had a great time.
Did you smuggle some back?
We did bring some back, and I remember getting back. It's just not the same, man. It's not the same when you don't have it right there. You'd walk through the streets of Taipei, certain neighborhoods, and they got these like booths these small little roll ups, but they're, it's like a roll up door, but the thing is only like 12 feet deep. And there's women rolling these beetle nut and just, and everybody's just lining up to get them. If you haven't had beetle nut, give it a try. Terry, have you?
I know, it's so funny. I'm literally Googling this as you guys are talking about it. I was just in Taiwan a few, like 2 months ago. I've been there a couple times, not when you were. And I am not familiar. Apparently, I'm not hanging out in the right neighborhoods or districts or cities or whatever. But I am not familiar with this beetle nut phenomenon or option over there. So, I mean, I got myself hooked on some Hai Chu, which I didn't even know was made in the U.S. as well. The candies. Kelvin Heimberg and I shared a few packs of those out on the course. So clearly this is a different kind of candy in a different way. But no, not familiar. So now I've got something else I have to look forward to, at least trying, apparently, when I head to Taiwan.
It's an acquired taste for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would stick with the Hai Chu.
Yeah.
Okay. That probably
you
sounds
don't want to get hooked. You get beetle nut teeth, and they mess everything up. It took days.
Next thing you know, man, you're making like flights to Taipei. I need my beetle nut.
Okay.
I do have to just reiterate we've talked a lot about Shimbo-san and how important he is to all of us. If you've been to Japan and you've met Shimbo, he's an incredible person, and what a man. I mean, just an incredible man. And Kwan is right there with him. Kwan, who had the measles, I think, as a kid or something, and one of his legs is a little, smaller than the other one, but one calf is, bam, it's like 2 Foster's cans. But man, you would never know it. You would just never know it. He just he goes and goes and goes, and I love that guy. So I definitely want to throw some love to Kwan as well as Shimbo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sam, I want to continue on a little bit on your journey coming back to the U.S. here as a player. We talked about distance. I want you to get into your story of you were a golfer, you win the worlds, you're doing all these things around the world. But what was distance for you, and how did that shape your life to chase that record?
Well, again, the United States Disc Golf Championships and that Olympic feeling, being the semifinals, the prelims, the semifinals, and then the finals, and Dan Stork-Roddick there announcing, and that was special. I mean, we would look forward to that and train. And I think the record, Frank Aguilera had it with an arrow, and then some guy, Michael Cansey from Australia, broke the record in Australia, and he was embarrassed about it because there was like a 600-mile-an-hour wind. And at least the U.S. Open was doing things like properly, where they would announce the event in advance, and this was the time we were going to have it, and this was the area we're going to have it. And by the way, it was 12. Well, you can look up La Habra. I'm not going to make it up, but it was less than 30 feet, above sea level. Mm-hmm. It's not like Big D in the desert or Stokely events. Where the mercenaries would go out, and it's great. It's like the Red Bull events where you go out and you jump out of an airplane and do that stuff. That's what those guys were doing to break the record. We didn't have any standards, but the U.S. Open did. And that's what I respected about that. So, my record was set at whatever, level it was above sea level. It was not much. It was in La Habra, California, and it was on a set period of time, and it was hot. And, Dave just kept at me. He's like, I got this new disc. It's called the Phoenix. It's not a golf disc. It's a distance disc. And it's going to feel really bad in your hand. You guys have ever gripped the Phoenix?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got a few.
Yeah, little different. Feels a lot different now.
Yeah.
But it became my best friend. And every day for 3 months, I was at La Mirada And Dave was just like, "You're not getting it. You're not getting it." He would use other words, but finally, I came back and I'm like, "I think I got it." And Dave's like, "You got it, and you got it. You have to get those discs up so high, and then when the nose comes down and it's turned over, and it's a sail basically." And that's what we were looking for. And I believe it was Russell Swartz from CFD that was marking, and he said he was out there and he saw it, and he could almost see the 174 gram weight written on the bottom of it because it was moving so slowly. It was at the end of its cycle, and it came down at 190.07 meters. And I knew it was a good one, and Dan Roddick announced it, and that was something I'll never forget. 1988.
Yeah.
And Dan Roddick says, "I'm sending this in to Guinness," and I'm like, "Cool." And he's like, "I recommend getting some professional photos taken." So I went to Jeff Carlick. Still remember the name. He was part of the Daily News at La Mirada, and he was a big fan of disc golf. And he took some pictures, and we sent that over to England. And Roddick, maybe 6 months later, said, "You're in the Guinness book. You made it. You're on page 274. Got a good picture of you on there. And by the way, you made the cover." So
What?
if you look up the 1990 Guinness Book of World Records, I'm there along with Dorothy's red shoes from The Wizard of Oz, a guy walking on water, and the world's rarest tree amphibian. Don't get confused. I'm the guy throwing the disc.
That's you, right?
Yeah, it's me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I think, let's pop in a picture of that right now. Post, of course. But yeah, I'm just looking at the list as you were talking. I brought that list up, and Frank was the first person to set the record with sort of what we would call a modern-ish disc, right? That was the Arrow. Frank set it with the Arrow at 167. And then, Mike, he broke that, the Aussie, he broke that at 186. That was with a P38, Lightning P38. And then there you are sitting there in 88. So in a few years, it really started to jump up pretty quickly from, Aguilera at 67 to you all the way up at 190 meters. And then it actually took, 5-6 years until Peter broke that. What did you remember when you heard that Peter had broken it with the Viper? What was that like? What was that moment like?
I think Snapper called me because he was a San Diego kid. The kid's great. I think, man, you could look this up, but I think kid was super, super smart. I think he started StubHub.
Really?
Look this up. Yeah, look it up. But he was part of some huge company, and I think it was StubHub. But he was always, it's always smart, always a very well-mannered kid, very respectful. And he called me too, and he said, "Hey," and I'm like, "Congratulations." It was because I knew it was going to eventually be broken, especially with they did it. He did it properly. And then we had events that would move it up into Colorado that were 5,000 feet up there. Come on, not that I'm bitter, but that's ridiculous. I didn't lose my record to that. So, I'm just,
right.
I'm cool with it. But for other people's records, you got to have standards, man.
Right. So you said it, you're roughly 21 or 22 or whatever at the time. How much concern is there to either break it more, to continue to push it back, to somehow break your own record, or how much are you worried about being competitive? Are you going every year, or anytime there's a competition, are you continuing to go hoping in order to break it? Or was there this sense of accomplishment of like, oh, I've got it, and we'll see how long it stands?
Again, it's exit strategy. I had that 84, I had the 85 win. Helsingborg was fantastic. I mean, that Whiff Diff championship there was 4,000 spectators there. We were on the train. People were recognizing us. That was a world championship.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Whiff Diff and PDGA Worlds, you can't have two world championships, but that was a validation. And then in 88, that was something else. So yeah, I mean, I basically, I felt as though that was enough, Terry.
Yeah, sure.
That was enough. And I wasn't looking for anything more. And we were talking a little earlier about letting it slide a bit, and I let it slide, and I regretted it because I saw these people kind of edging past me, and winning. And you can't do that forever. You have to have an exit strategy. You have to have a plan. And my plan at that time was graduating and getting to Japan. So that's where I was going.
Yeah, I think life gets in the way, especially when you're so young and you have so much success as a young person. But I mean, you still have college to think about. You still have these secondary, goals in life, and you still have a whole life to live.
Yeah.
It's like, I think in some ways, I always look back on it thinking, boy, I just don't want '05 to be the top of the mountain for me, and it wasn't. Marrying Val was another big peak, and then my son being born 2.5 years ago, that is the top of the mountain, in my opinion. Your children, I never thought that, but I now do. And I love hearing you open up a little bit about that, because I felt that exact same way, that towards the end for me, when we were starting to look at opening double, I just got bored a little bit. I thought to myself, what else can I do? And the only thing that keeps you in it is that obsession of winning. But when you don't win, then the lows are even lower,
Yes,
and
right.
I think when we look at your career with the big win, yes, you're going to hold this record for all time, in my opinion, or at least I hope it lasts. I don't know. You're just in a very unique position. I think ultimately you made a lot of the right decisions. How did you feel at that time, though? When your game was starting to slip, you see Japan on the future horizon. You've done so many exhibitions and all these things. Like, where was your mind at that time? As far as obviously hindsight's clear for us now, but in it, did you feel it at that time?
Yeah, I felt like, I was kind of in limbo, purgatory. It's like, all right, I love this game. I love to compete. I'm still in the top 3, top 5. I'll hang in there, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely. Did that for years.
Starting to slip, a bit, but I knew that there was a better thing. You always leave it better than you found it, right?
Yes.
You always leave it better than you found it. And you want to, you make a mess, you break something, you want to sweep it up, and then you want to power wash it, right? You want to make sure it's clean. And that's the way I always looked at it. It's like, yep, I have a plan. I'm going to Japan. I'm going to learn a language. I'm going to see where that goes. And it just took me. I think just thinking the process through that way it's clean. One of the things I learned from Shimbo-san was to compartmentalize. He's like, you Americans are very sloppy. You always open up your compartments, right? Your social life, your entertainment life, your business life, and guess what happens? That those compartments come crashing down on you because you have your drawers open. you have to open one at a time and close it. And that's one of the things that I've learned to organize my my life, is to compartmentalize. And the more successful you are, the more compartments that you make.
Yeah.
And you have to organize.
Well, I guess speaking of compartments, in those early days, you're throwing a disc, you're throwing it farther than anyone else has, and you're working with, one of the earliest, of course, one of the earliest designers of discs. So take off your present day marketing hat, right? And did you realize what you guys were doing? Was it about the research and development of Frisbees, of aerodynamics, of flight, or was it so much more about your body and your mechanics? What were some of those, I'll say, marketing and or actual scientific, developments and realizations like?
Well, it was cool. I knew it was cool. I was working with Dave, and kind of looked at it like skateboarding, like being in Southern California, and like they were probably 10 years removed earlier, from rock wheels to the urethane wheels, right? Skating in the pools and stuff. And I was like, this is something special. This guy's for real. If you've been around Dave, he's for real.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he explains things, even to this day, is it's amazing. And he goes levels beyond. And I was like, I love to hear him. I still love to hear him every Saturday and Sunday that we play. I knew that there was something special going on. And to be involved with him and Harold, that's an honor. Absolutely. I don't know what else to say other than at that time, Terry, I knew that I was part of the generational disc golf magic, and wouldn't trade anything for it.
When you look back, I mean, such a special relationship of you becoming, the superstar thrower at such a young age, Dave and others ultimately kind of taking you under their wing, helping with guidance and probably advice financially, all these different things, Kozo Shimbo as well. How would you describe your relationship with Dave in terms of, and I'll just throw out a few examples. I think of like a father figure, like a brother, like a cousin, like how would you describe that relationship?
Well, I started, Dave took me under the wing after we had the very terrible thing that happened, with my brother. And he was always there because I was in Japan ordering product. And one of the big things was the targets that they developed in 1994. And that was a big thing, that when we brought the disc catcher, which is the official target of the United States Disc Golf Championship.
Good plug.
Yeah. Sorry. Shameless plug.
No, as you should. Go on.
Yeah. And just to have him there as a friend, as a coach to begin with, as a friend, and also as a mentor, and we could say father figure. I mean, he could have been my father, if he started early, relatively early, but mentor mainly. And that was the main thing between Dave and Shimbo-san. That was kind of the impetus for starting Hero Disc USA, which is the canine company that I operate. The ingenuity of Dave in making the discs, and the hard work and tradition of Shimbo-san and Hero that sparked that idea. So those two mentors helped develop Hero Disc USA. And that is something that it will live on, just like I think disc golf will live on well past us, To answer your question, yes, all of the above, Terry. He was, and he still is, a friend and mentor and a brother and a father.
For those who don't know, again, I feel like unless you're at least the age of Nate and I, you're not probably as familiar with Hero and all the developments, all the things that you've been explaining. Hero is a separate company, but then is exclusively partnered with Innova. How do you describe the relationship, I guess, is the question. How would you describe it to someone who has no idea necessarily how Hero and Innova are melded? Partnered, yeah.
Yes. When I was in Japan, Hero started their canine division.
Okay.
So when I came back, I was like, well, that's interesting. That's good. Every dog needs a hero, And we started that campaign in 2001. I made the first molded disc with Innova, and Dave was fully supportive. He allowed me to participate and operate as a partner. It's completely separate from Innova, kind of like Bevel Brewing. Mm-hmm. Well, one day we will trade discs for beer, Nate. Canine Heroes for beer. Can't wait.
Deal.
See what the partnership evolves into. And so I thought it was a joke at first. I was like, okay, we made our first low density polyethylene air, and it just kept going on because there was very few competitors in that market. And then years went on, and again, kind of like the Japan Open, more customers and more support. And then there was an employee, and then there was 3 employees, and now we're moving along. 25 years later, making all different kinds of discs. And in the canine market, they only made 1 or 2 different styles. But I kind of followed the equation of Dave, where you would make different levels, different bite resistance, right? Different grips, different feels. And Hero was a perfect name. And we got the TM
trademark,
the trademark on Hero, and going strong. My family, my son, Kaz, is full on board. Denise Panis.
Cool.
She is the famous mother of Kona Panis. And the famous wife of Jeff Panis is my office manager, main person there. So very, very cool. And we have a big team, and just watching that evolve, from all of this is it's a blessing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I guess I think this will probably be a longer conversation with the 2 of the participants, being Juliana and Barry. But 2001, Akita hosted the World Games, and we saw that recently happen in 2025, right after the World Championships in Finland. Then they went to Chengdu, China, for the World Games, and it had been that 24-year break between World Games being in 2001 and then 2025 in terms of disc golf being involved. As far as I know, what was your involvement? How did that come about? Were you at all either consulted or what was your participation in seeing, the World Games have disc golf offered as a sport?
Akita World Games in 2001. I was there. Yeah, I was there, and I had the responsibility of making sure that all of and Shimbo-san sponsored Juliana, Barry, Michael Sullivan. Boy, oh boy, there was a few other. Oh, I think it was Jesper Ludmark.
Yeah, it was Jesper. Yep.
Yeah. Can't come up with the others, but maybe you guys can. But yeah, we brought him in, and the Whiff Diff was part of that. Shimbo-san funded it. Whiff Diff presented it, and we brought everybody there and hosted them for the event, and that was something special. That's a precursor to the Olympics.
Yeah,
which kind of brings me to, I guess, the next question, which is, when I found the game in the 90s, Nate found the game in the early 90s, and you finding it so young when you were 16. Has that conversation always been there of, well, we're validated and recognized as a real sport when we get to the Olympics? And I guess I know it's a really big question ultimately, but where's your stance? What feelings have you had knowing that we've been in a couple of World Games, but then the Olympics still isn't a thing? Was that something you and even your parents would say, well, we'll care when this gets to the Olympics? What have some of those Olympic conversations ever been like for you?
I mean, for me, Stork told me, he said, we're lucky. This is an exclusive. This is way back. This is an exclusive sport. Enjoy it. Enjoy it while we have it. I mean, look at Tiger Woods. Man.
Right.
That's another story, right?
Yes.
So to answer your question, I don't think I wanted to jump into it too quickly. And I'm kind of happy that we're marinating still. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
We still need training. We still need time. And we're extremely exclusive, and we're not exclusive as much as we were in the 80s, but we're niche, and you can't get on the computer and do the formula for who we are as disc golfers and what our sport means. Look at some of the companies that tried to take over other companies that didn't know about disc golf. Mm-hmm. Look what happened there. We are extremely unique. And I think we need more time to marinate.
Do you love the idea then? Does that go hand in hand with saying you like that we're a little bit, we're definitely not mainstream, but we're also a little counterculture, or at least obviously our roots were a little counterculture? Is that a California thing too?
I hope it's a global thing, We don't want to jump in too quickly. And it takes some time, man. Look at regular traditional ball golf, how long that took. And we're doing a good job. I think we're doing a good job. COVID brought in 60 million rounds of disc golf and maybe 2 million people we retained. And that's a great thing. But we have to be responsible with that. Also, we just can't jump in going Olympics. It's once you do that, then you put the control into others that don't truly understand where we came from.
Yeah. I could not agree with you more, Sam. I do think that we need more time to develop as far as being an Olympic sport. And that is one of the reasons what you just mentioned is one of the reasons for why we're talking right now. That's why Terry and I are doing this. I mean, I feel so fortunate that we're still so close to the beginning of our game that we can have these conversations with people that started it, that were there, talking with Stork about, setting the 2-meter rule and figuring out what a falling putt is and all of these things. We're still so close to that. And I know that in this, time where things are sort of like exponentially happening faster, whether it's technology or whatever, we can lose a little bit of where we kind of came from and also to see where we're going. I find that to be, look, do I want to see it in the Olympics? Sure. I'm not saying I don't, but to me, the World Championship last year in Finland and the one that will subsequently come here in Michigan is enough. I mean, that's huge. It's huge in our sport. And so I think I can live with that. Sam, I wanted to, you're a part of the World Champion Brotherhood. You're also a part of the World Distance Record Holder Brotherhood. And I think the crescendo of your playing career and even promoting at that point in 1999 when you're inducted into the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame, that is now another brotherhood and sisterhood and all the people. What was that like for you? I mean, obviously, 84 you win, and in 99 you're inducted in an early time when they were trying to get a lot of people in, but obviously you're a World Hall of Famer. What was that like, and what does it mean for you to be a world champion, to be a distance record holder, but also be a Hall of Famer as well?
I was in Japan at the time, and I knew that people were lobbying. I was inducted with one of the great founders of Innova, Tim Selinsky,
Yes.
who I worked next to for years.
Yes.
And I'm now in the same building, same office that I worked with him when I started in 2001 and moved around to various buildings. And now I'm back there next to big guy, Dave. But him and Steve Wisecup, and I'd lost my brother during that year. So I wasn't able to make it to the official ceremony, but Stork did a wonderful job, just sending the pictures and a card and everything. Everybody signed. It was just very, very emotional and very wonderful. And I never really think about that kind of stuff. I mean, I just did what I did, and I mean, I'm just so happy to make a contribution, and it's just my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way, And they gave me a plaque, and I'm part of this exclusive club, right? And we get to talk about it, and that's pretty neat. And my kids do book reports on this stuff, right? They did book reports, right? They brought the book in, right? So how proud am I?
When you're looking at specifically the Disc Golf World Hall of Fame, I think then about your other beginnings of MTA and self-caught flight and all of the other disciplines. I hate to admit it, but we all see the writing on the wall. So many of those are dying or slowly fading, or maybe even quickly fading at this point. So many of the things that basically are an ultimate disc golf, and then we have a highlight version of some kind of distance competitions, exhibitions for those. What would you say about some of those other disciplines and where they belong, whether it's in the history books or in our future? What would you say about some of those other Frisbee activities that, the three of us know about and maybe others don't?
I mean, it was a beginning to where we are. I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, you look at, I'm sure golf had its beginnings, right? I mean, there's croquet, right?
Yeah.
And cricket, right? There's they're still around, and there's still people that set up DDC courts, and it's just a different clique of people. We don't want to say no. We want to say yes. We always want to be accessible, especially in our sport. Come, here's a 3-disc set. Innova 3-disc set. Sorry, guys.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah. One of our greatest sellers, by the way. But again, yes, you want to be accessible, and I think that was just the precursor to where we are today. And the power sports, the distance and the disc golf and the MTA and the SCF. I mean, discathon. Have you heard of discathon?
Oh, yeah. I've done it. I've done it. Believe it or not.
I'm crazy.
Right. Well, so should we be promoting those? Should
No.
are those going to slowly
No.
fade? Like what do we care? I mean, they're so much a part of history of a few decades, but right now you could mention discathon, and unless you're of a certain age, you have no idea what we're talking about.
I know, and I don't want to be unfair, but the WIF Diff can continue to have those events, and there's some people that are very excited to do that.
Okay.
I am not. I don't like running. I only did running because I wanted to get 6th period so I can go to La Mirada and play disc golf.
I like that.
Rewind the tape.
Right.
Sam, I kind of want to get a little bit of your perspective on the time. And I know you had gone to Japan and stuff, but when Ken Climo came into the game, he emerged. And what that was like, that time. And then I do want to get into just a little bit of your time as team manager and what that meant to sort of like your game started to sort of slow down. You're working at Hero. This guy, King Climo, comes around. He's starting to just really dominate the game. And then how you were able to then pass that along to the people that ultimately eventually had to dethrone Kenny. What was that like for you, specifically with Kenny first and foremost?
Well, 1990 is when he first came on the scene, Arizona, right?
That was when he won. I know that he played the one before. He played 89.
Right.
And then it was 90 that he won in Phoenix, Scottsdale.
Okay, so I remember. I mean, I was still here. I was less activated. I was like not in studying, and I went to Japan in '94. So I had Ken up to that point.
Yep.
And I think I beat him one time. It was at the St. Louis Open. Made a miraculous shot, which he wasn't very happy about. But that was the only time. And the way that guy, he was a different competitor. He was fierce. You know, you played against him how many times?
Yeah, the most fierce.
And he was there. He was there to kill. And I just remember that. And I didn't have that in me at that time. I made a lucky shot to beat him. And then I was at your stomping ground, Santa Cruz, and we went into sudden death. And I remember just trying to throw this thing all the way up hole one, and I just ripped it too hard, and it just turned over a little bit. Oh, so sorry. OB. You know what he said? Game over.
Wow. Yeah, I could see it.
And he just laid it up, and it was done good.
Yeah.
And it was done. And you know what? I love Kenny, always will. And one of the most fiercest competitors in our sport, should be revered. And I just kind of, that was one of those moments where that was it, And then after 94, I was in Japan, and I just saw him continue and continue and continue to rise. And what a decade, huh?
Yeah. I mean, yes, obviously. I just feel like, in a way, Ken he took that fierceness and he set records that will never be broken because he was unwilling to accept things that maybe you and I did. Things as fellow world champions to him, we sort of accepted that maybe we were a little bored or that there was other things that we were wanting to do. He didn't do that. He said, no, yeah. I'm gonna continue to set these records and break those. See a little bit of that in Paul Macbeth. Obviously, he's done some incredible things. And now we really see that in Gannon. I think Gannon has this sort of vision of maybe even trying to beat Kenny's record. I don't know if he'll ever be able to do it. But, Sam, one thing that I don't want to skip over is my personal knowledge of you, and the first time that we really interacted, which was in 2000. It was actually at the SoCal Championship, and it wasn't the first time we ever played in the same tournament. That would have been the 2000 Worlds earlier that year, because the SoCal Championship, I believe, was in September or October. It was late in the year, and you and I got to play together for the first time, and this was after your big playing career was over, but I'll never, ever forget just seeing your name on my card, and I get to play with Sam Ferrans. I mean, this is the moment for me, and you were locked in. You were focused during those rounds. We weren't near the top, but I'll never forget, because we're playing La Mirada. I think it's like hole 4, but you play from the corner of the park by the stop signs, and it's the big turnover, and then you play the downhill second shot. And I think you were just trying to impress the group, and you just went so sky high on that thing, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm not the only person that looked up to you that way. We knew that you were a young world champion. We knew that you had gone on to work at Innova, a hero, all these things. But how does that affect your relationship, or did it at that time, with the players that then you were mentoring as team manager, people that came to you to say, hey, Sam, what should I do? Or how can you help me? How is that for you? Because I personally, I give my time to young players now. I try to, I offer it up. They may not take advantage of it, but if you're on tour and you want my phone number, you can get it, and I'll pick it up and I'll talk to you. How is that for you, Sam? Obviously with the Innova angle, but still being that for people.
I mean, in our position, you always have to remember that you're making an impact, and if you're a bad citizen, which I'll always say, I'm a recovering bad citizen because I'm ultra competitive, and I think I'm not going to say that maybe perhaps you found yourself in that very unfortunate position, but you always have to, regardless of how you're playing, remember that there's people watching, and it could be the people you're playing with, it could be your spectators, it could be your future sponsor, it could be your mother or father, right? You have to represent yourself and your sport professionally. So that's kind of what I brought through all the years, and to be a part of the team manager position for 3-4 years until JP took over. By the way, the S at innovadiscs.com was developed because of JP at innovadiscs.com. I wanted one up on him. I wanted one letter. That's a true story.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that S at innovadiscs.com comes directly to me.
Yeah.
But,
well, now you're going to get spam.
Yeah, I was about
now,
to
now
say,
everybody's going to know.
You're going to get some emails.
JP does. But yeah.
I don't know if I know anyone that has a one-letter email account for what it's worth. Yeah. So you're silly. Definitely special in that way as well. Well, go on.
It's pretty silly. But for the most part, yeah. I mean, again, I think just trying to remember all of the mistakes as a team when you're a team manager because you're a player, you're not just a manager, that you make, and just to encourage the players to think about their actions on the course. What they say matters. How they act matters. You know, they're representing not only themselves but our sport and the company. That's important. You know, everybody has a different mindset, man. You know. Everybody has a different way to win. I mean, you could be a mercenary. You could be nice about it, right? You look at Barry Schultz. You look at Ken Climo, right? Different playing styles, you know? But all in all, it comes down to one thing, right? Lowest shots, lowest throws, right? It also matters how you do that at the end. And I think it's easy for me to say these things now after I've kind of seen it. But when I was doing it, no, not so easy. I've thrown my disc a couple times on the ground, right? Not proud of that. But for the most part, man, you know, having all those experiences as a player and a manager, it's kind of put me in the position where I am today.
I think you just said it so perfectly, Sam, because, yeah, I mean, we're all competitive, and I just think it's nice for young players, younger than us, I should say, just to hear us be honest about it, right? We've made these mistakes before, and we're not sitting here claiming that it's easy. Now, we're not saying, hey, it's easy to just be the nicest guy in the world and still win every tournament that you want to win in life. That's not how it is. But I do think it's nice that they have somebody to talk to that's not judging them, right? Because I think you know just as much as I do that when you're a young champion, you feel judged. A lot of people are judging you against what you had done. And to be able to talk to somebody that's not doing that, that sort of understands where you are, I think is really critical. And I know that you did that for a lot of people. And I just know that it's not easy to accept that, or maybe even take that on as a responsibility. But yeah, something that you did. And I think you did a great job at it. So good on you there, Sammy.
Thank you, brother.
When you're looking at your legacy and you're thinking about those earlier days of Japan, how do you see Japan in 10 or 20 or 50 years from now, the Japanese disc golf scene? What are some of the things that would excite you the most if you could peek ahead 50 years from now in Japan?
Well, I think it's going in the right direction. I mean, we have the JPDGA, and Shimbo-san kind of handed the reins over to Sakai City, who took on the Japan Open. So now a government agency pretty much controls the Japan Open, their town. So we have the full support of Sakai City, the mayor, the whole town supporting the event. It's wonderful to see that. 50 years ago, I would never have thought that would be possible. But to see that all the different people, all the kids come out to watch the event, all the children, all the parents, all the schools, and then we get to converge on their 350-year-old Mikuni Festival. And all the years that we've done, even Nasu Shiobara, where Nate you were, and then Tachikawa, it's transformed, and we keep making those rounds. It's not going away. It's like what we said in 1980. It's like, yeah, disco golf. You have a dog, right? You don't get it. You don't understand it. This is cool. This is a dynamic sport. This is a sport for the future. It's not going away. 50 years from now, when we're not here, but your podcast will be, thank goodness. We're still going to be here. We're still going to be here. That's the beautiful thing about disc golf. Not going away.
I was fortunate enough to return to Japan. I've got a story about you and I in a second, Sam, but I just returned to Japan for the first time since 2010, and I was in Okinawa a few weeks ago. Where they're having an event. A newly formed Asia tour now exists, which is maybe a whole nother question for you. But I was in Okinawa previously. Was there for the Japan Open. If you had to describe, if somebody could only go to Japan and wanted to involve themselves with both culture and disc golf, is there a hotbed? Is there an area where you say, hey, here's either where the most history is, or here's where the most courses are? If you were the tour guide for Japanese disc golf and somebody had a week, where are you kind of pointing them? What are you directing them to?
I mean, you fly into Haneda, which is, Tokyo, and we get you set up with either Innova Japan or Kawasaki-san from the JPDGA. You play your courses in Tokyo. Okay. You get an all-rail pass, depending on how much time you have. So 7 days. Shinkansen, which is the bullet train. You go anywhere up and down, back and forth. And that's the way to do it. Up and down. There's courses all up and down from Tokyo all the way up to Kyoto and Morioka and above. So that's the way I would do it. Okay. Again, s@innovadiscs.com. Any questions? Let me know.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, you have you're like the ultimate guide and resource to all things Japanese disc golf. If you're in the U.S. and you need to know anything, I can't think of another person that I would go to before I went to you if I had questions about things that were going on. And I know that it probably feels like an honor and I don't want to say a burden, but that's a heavy responsibility to know, because you were there from the beginning or from the early stages. And so to have those answers and to be that resource, I think is just incredibly exciting. Now, I've got to quickly tell the story. You and I had met, I don't even remember what year. It was probably in the early 2000s at some point somewhere at a world championships or something of that nature. I'm sure we interacted, but I had the idea to go to the Japan Open in 2008. It was in Nasu Shiobara. We had played up there where it was for a number of years. I went with a good friend, Ben Singer. We went together. It was just the two of us. And then obviously everyone was there and played, had a great time. I actually cashed, which was a big deal. That was back in my heyday of playing. Just to cash, I think I took 13th or 15th and won like 50,000 yen, which to this day I still brag about.
Big win.
50,000.
You came back. Your mother's like, how much do you make? 50,000.
50,000. And and the common response was, "Oh, is that enough to buy like a pizza?" Because everybody wanted to, rip on whatever 50,000 was. It was about 500 at the time.
Yeah, penny a yen.
So that was 2008. I remember thinking, this was before I was quote unquote the disc golf guy. My media career was nothing more than volunteering with Disc Golf Planet, and I was doing everything to promote golf, but I wasn't. My YouTube hadn't even started yet, so none of that was a factor. It was either 2009 or early 2010, and you called me. I'll never forget. I was in an apartment. I remember the exact office I was sitting in, and you called me, and you had said. We started talking and you said, "Hey, thank you for supporting the Japan Open. You bought a whole bunch of 150 class Japan Open rocks through Innova and through the Innova store. You had bought a whole bunch of them. Thank you for the support." And I'm a big collector / hoarder. And I don't know if I'd ordered 25 or 35 or 50 of them, whatever it was. They were all fundraiser discs, very expensive even at that time. And you had said, in doing so, we pulled your name and you won the grand prize of free airfare to the Japan Open.
Yes, you're the dude.
And
now I remember.
Maybe most importantly, the caveat to that always was that didn't. If you declined, if you were the grand prize winner, being me, if I declined, it's like. I may have even asked, like, well, what do I get if I decline? And you're like, nothing. Like, this is all or nothing in terms of being a grand prize. And I remember thinking, I went in 2008, and it was only like the first time I was ever out of the country, actually, was in 2008 for the Japan Open. And I always thought, well, it was fun. I loved it, but I'll go to some other country. If I'm going to save money and go to some other country for disc golf, it should be just at another country. I don't need to go back there. I should experience other places. But then you call me and you tell me that you've won the grand prize, the airfare. I was like, all right, I guess I got to go. I mean, that was literally what I said. I guess I have to go now. I mean, the most expensive part of the trip is the like $1,500 airfare, and somebody's going to give me that for free. And sure enough, that was, then I rounded up good buddies, John Pecunia, Johnny Rumble, PDGA 2540, and then my best friend, Johnny V. And I convinced them both to go as well. I had free airfare. They didn't. But the three of us all went to my second ever Japan Open, which was 2010. But held at the Toa Pure Cottages again, and at the Bobby Jones Jr. Design course up there, all of that stuff. And that was a phone call that I got from you, was telling me that I won the grand prize, the free airfare, and hence my second ever trip to Japan. So pretty special.
The song that I played?
What's that?
Do you remember the song that I played?
I don't recall. I do not recall.
Oh, come on. Turning Japanese. I'm turning Japanese. I really think so.
I don't know how that one.
Oh, that's perfect.
No, dude, I did that for all the grand prize winners.
Okay. Well,
yeah, and now when I see you gallivanting around the world, I know where it all started. I forgot about that, Terry. I'm sorry.
Oh no, don't be. I will never forget is that phone call that you were telling me, and it was like yeah, if I decline or don't go, what do I get? And you're like, nothing. I was like, okay. And it also didn't pass on to the second person.
Yeah.
And maybe you guys were counting on that, but
no, 7 days. You had 7 days.
Yeah, right. But
you're very systematic.
Who picked it out? Who pulled the name? Was it you?
It was random.
It was random. Just,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't in a
2008?
No, 2010, and you were probably pulling the
that
TFR
was a random
tickets.
generator. Levi Wilcox did that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had ordered.
Guy's going to get his head shaved.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Right. Let's go.
Aaron. I still have most of those discs, those Japan Open discs from that year. I was never much of a flipper. Like I said, I always thought I was a collector, but then I never got around to selling most stuff. So now I'm just a flat out hoarder, and I still have a bunch of those discs. And because I purchased those, my name got thrown into the mix into your CFR TFR program. And next thing you know, I was selected. So, and I then cashed and won, I think, like 30,000 yen when I returned. So it was all worth it. And had some shenanigans with Nate and Val.
Oh yeah,
that's where we filmed the first ever grip bag introduction, because Grip literally Justin Atwater showed up in Japan with a grip bag, and we're right behind one of the cottages. Shooting like I'm now vlogging, and that's where the number one probably grip bag commercial ever came about was 2010 Japan Open. And another quick story for you, Sam, that I got to share, that I usually share internationally is we go places. Karaoke, obviously popular there, popular in a lot of.
What'd you say?
Karaoke.
No.
Karaoke?
No, repeat after me. Atoni tsuite ite kudasai. That means repeat after me in Japanese.
Okay.
Kara.
Karaoke.
Kara means empty in Japanese. Okay is the English version of orchestra.
Empty
orchestra. Karaoke.
Okay.
I like it.
So I have this conversation everywhere now. You guys know, and all the listeners. Karaoke.
And now everywhere I go, people actually rip on me and say, you're not saying it right. I'm like, no, I learned from somebody who knows, kind of like the Kristen conversation. Anyway, so I always tell the story that I've never done it in my life. Never karaoke in my life. Until 2008, Japan Open. We're in the cottages. There's all the karaoke rooms everywhere. And I do it for the first time ever. The second time in my life that I ever do karaoke, ever, 2010 Japan Open. And that was the last time. So 2008, 2010 Japan Open, the only two times in my life. I know I'm in front of a mic, but I am not a singer. So those are special moments. And one of those, I remember doing a song with Val. I think we were singing I'm Bringing Sexy Back. So if we really want to date where this is at, 2010 karaoke, Japan. What times I'll never forget, along with too much Asahi.
There's never enough.
No, there was too much. Me passed out on a bench while the entire tour was having the look of Sylvia and Rick Vokes, like the disappointment, yet
that's
scared.
terrible.
Like their look on my face because I'm holding up the tour bus because I oversleep after too much karaoke and super dry. Also a memory I will never forget. And I think,
incidentally, Asahi was the official sponsor of the Japan Open.
They were mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sam.
Anyway,
Sam, this is going to be my last question for you before we let you get out of here. And by the way, Terry, it may be the last time you've done karaoke, but I know you're singing all them Taylor Swift songs in your car as you're driving down the road.
That's true.
He does karaoke for one. A lot, but
which is best.
Sam, what an incredible career that you've had, and seriously, thank you for opening up today. I mean, it just means the world to me as a person who looked up to you, as well as eventually became friends with you. But before I let you go, I do want to ask of everything that you saw, 1976, you started with your Olympic, fastback or whatever, and whatever mold it was, to today. What is the biggest takeaway from, you said it earlier in the show. You like to leave things better than you found them. And actually, you had told me that years ago, and I live by that to this day. Still to this day, that's my only goal in life. What does that mean to you when you look from 1976 to 2026, the last 50 years of helping develop this game from many levels? What does that mean to you, Sam?
Well, it's tough because you set a high bar to continue to make it better. That's a responsibility. I'm up for it. I'm getting up 3:50 in the morning, getting to work, and seeing the big guy. That's everything, right there. He's there probably 4 o'clock in the morning, turning machines on. It's an honor to be a part of the fabric, the big bang of disc golf. Not frisbee golf. We all know, play, catch, invent games on the back of the Pluto platter packaging. Certainly not that, but to be there before the big bang and to see it all happen is a huge revelation for me. And, to have the support of my family, to have the support of you guys and people that I don't even know, that to me is an honor, a true honor. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to be 60 years old in 2 years. My goodness. No, next year. Oh my gosh. You know what I get to wear? A red suit. In Japan, when you turn 60, you wear a red suit. You're going to see me in a red suit. And I'm proud of that. I will continue. I'm not going to give up. And as our life changes, as super competitor to manager to ambassador to partnership director, to wherever I go, I'm going to be completely dedicated to the sport we all love. And I really appreciate you guys for taking the time today.
Terry?
I'll just echo everything, obviously, that Nate said. And as a guy that's been always a friendly face and someone that has never been shy about working hard, but then also having a good time and having those social components to when we've been together. Times in Japan, stick out as first and foremost, but any other time off the course or at a function or at an event, wherever it's been, I've always enjoyed our time together. The disc golf world is obviously blessed to have not only your prowess as a player and as someone that was setting a standard and breaking records and doing things as our youngest ever champion, but then for you to fully involve your life and turn disc golf and everything that you did so passionately to, especially to go international, to develop that whole scene and be the guy over there that was helping spread the love and the cheer and the joy of disc golf to an entire, section of the world and to an entire country. Everyone forever should be grateful for those efforts that you helped either maintain or start or continue or whatever the case might be. Those are all things that I know we can point to you for. And as I always love to say, our Frisbee family is so incredibly special. And you're one of those guys that's made it that way from day one, from anything that I've been involved with. And I know Nate's had a lot of those special honors and a lot of those special experiences as well. And that's because of so much of what you've done. So, Sam, I can't say it enough. It's been an honor to sit and chat with you more than we have any other time. And thank you for everything that you've done. And I'll follow that up. And thank you to your family and loved ones that have supported you. I mean, all three of us are very blessed to do what we've done, but then to always know that there were people believing in us, surrounding us, putting up with us, the crazy schedules, travels, whatever. It's all part of that support network as well. And so thank you to not only just you, but everyone that's been forever surrounding you to get us to where we are. So we love you and appreciate you, buddy.
Love you too, man. Thank you.
Well, Sam Ferrans, thank you again. I'm going to leave it with this, and we'll say goodbye. We look forward to the next time, is what I like to say, really. But the thing that you said that I think is the most important here is that you leave things better than you found them, no matter how hard that might be. Whether it's because of your own ego or your own aspirations or dreams, you always got to leave the game better than you found it. And you certainly did that, my friend, from the very early days to where we are right now, and you're still doing it. So keep it up. Send our love to all the crew, the big guy. Convince him to do this with us as well. We want to get Dave in here. Hopefully we can get him to go 2 hours, and we'll get him talking. But just send our love to the whole Innova West team and crew. And you're the very first disc golf superstar, my friend, and you wear it nicely. You still look good.
Thank you, my friends. I really appreciate the opportunity, man. And boy, I can't wait to get an invitation to go to Bevel Brewing. I don't know. I never really. Wow. What's happening? If you are in Oregon at all, just come on over. Dude, the name alone.
Yes.
Come on, brother.
And
look at this.
Yeah, So, okay. We were saying our goodbyes. All right. I got to tell this
story. I'm sorry, man. You can cut it. You can cut it if you want.
No, there's no cut. This is the bonus they all need.
A few years ago, when there was the St. Jude Classic, it was in Monterey. We did a couple of years. They had some cool auctions. Well, one of the auction items was at Arrow. And it actually was put into the auction by either Dave or somebody that knew of Dave. And this was one of the first 14, I believe it was 14, might have been 34, is a low number of the first ones that were run. No stamp, it's white. And Val put in for the auction because we had already named Bevel at this time. And we won the thing. We won it, okay? Dave then wrote and hand-signed a letter of certification for that disc. And that disc is held up on the wall prominently in our spot. And anytime anybody asks, why is the name Bevel? I say it's the difference between a Frisbee and a disc. One invention, one guy's crazy idea to take a toy and turn it into a piece of sporting equipment changed the world forever. And so pass that along to Dave, and he's invited as well as everybody down there.
Okay. I'm coming. Whether you like it or not.
Good. Well, you can. I'll take care of all your beers, my friend. You've bought plenty for me, so. And we'll play a round of quarters. We'll play a round of quarters too.
Ooh, wait! I've got notes. Don't play quarters, right? I've got it on my notes. Yeah. Don't play quarters. I'm just saying.
What was that, Sam?
And maybe a round of disc golf.
100%. We have 2 baskets in the back. We play on our putting course, and then we'll take you out to the course as well. It's a deal. It's a date. Come on up, Sammy.
Awesome, guys. Right. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. We love you.
Take care.
Yeah,
thank you so much,
love,
Sam.
Sammy.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye. Sam Ferrans he's so cool and calm, but man, his life is unreal. I mean, it's just it's unreal. What he's been able to do, not only winning worlds at 16, but all the other, that was just one little sliver of what that guy's done.
Yeah, it feels it's such a tall task to take his life and okay, we're going to condense it to a couple hours. But clearly, I'll say I learned that he was even more impactful than I realized. I didn't know all of that backstory. Of course, I knew him with Hero, but I didn't know, to what degree. and it almost felt like he was more of I had the misconception that he was more of a consultant to them as opposed to being like part of the actual fabric, as you would say, to what they are. So, yeah, so cool. And then I'm still, call me simple-minded, but I'm always still mesmerized by anyone that's fully American, that is just so naturally speaking some of these languages. And so when it was my first international trip ever, is to go to Japan and then to be talking to this guy, and you see him fully, 100% having a conversation in Japanese as well. I'm like, who is this? Who is this guy? He's my hero. It was really cool to see. And a quick side note that is probably irrelevant to him in the big picture, but even to this day, literally two decades later, I've always been envious of the hero logo.
Yeah.
Just that, I think Arrowman is his name.
Yes.
And it's Japanese anime, which I'm not in any way, or, Japanese themed or anime that I'm not at all associated with. But even starting a disc golf company and now having a couple of them since then, and these different brands and things I've started and been part of, the little hero Arrowman is just like something that was so simplistic, but I just absolutely love it. And so if there's anyone out there that still, wants to make, it's a mascot, I just feel like that's something that I would love to have as a brand. We see silhouettes, we see initials, we see all these things related to your branding for different disc golf related companies. But to have like a mascot is just something I've always been jealous of. And I've always pointed people to that, saying, hey, I want a mascot. And then I'll point to the hero Arrowman. I'm like, okay, you want like a Japanese anime? I'm like, no, not. But like conceptually, like this mascot, I just thought was awesome. So that's kind of another random side note. Like the way Japan and that event in 2008 and then going back in 2010, doing a couple of vlogs while we were there and just having that experience, that cultural experience, without a doubt, just life-changing for me, right? My first international travel, of course, it was for disc golf. And then to be in such a cool, not that other countries aren't cool, but what were some of your Japan, memories, that molded you the most?
Yeah. I mean, most of them are with Sam. I mean, in
Right.
all honesty, I I will say about Sam Ferrans, just briefly, he's had kind of three major mentors in his life. Obviously, you can tell how much Dave Dunapace means to him.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really speak about Shimbo all that much. And I think that's more of a cultural thing, as far as not overly doing it there. But, and Mangione, I believe is how you say his last name, in the early days. What three mentors to have? I mean, regardless of what you think about the products that they made or the people that they are, this is who Sam was sort of mentored by, and still to this day. And so I think that's a big factor. I just think people overlook that when you have an opportunity to interact with a kid or a young person. You might be their mentor at some point.
Right.
In any facets of life. But no, in Japan, what I realized was that there's a different culture to these places, and I first went in 2006, so I'd won Worlds in 2005, and there's no doubt that if I didn't win that tournament, I wouldn't have been in Japan in the very next year. Discraft paid for it. But when you went in those days, when you signed up, it was all of a sudden you're like interacting with Sam. It's like, hey, you're coming. Hey, thanks. Here's Elaine. And Elaine would set up your flights and, set up everything. And then the bus ride from Nasu, or, from the airport up to Nasu Highlands, Sam was on that bus with us. And so it's like a 4-hour ride. We're sitting in the back drinking beers. Kenny was on the bus. Hammock was on the bus. The Ricos were on the bus. We actually all flew together from LAX all over there because that's how they did it. They basically would fly everybody to LAX and then we would all fly. So this whole trip, we're all together. And Sam was, for lack of a better term, the mascot of the trip. You know, if you were confused about something or if you just weren't comfortable, I mean, Sam would be there to handle it. And I went over there. I told the story where I brought my Xbox. I brought all these things that I thought I couldn't live without. And then you get there and you see the culture, the respect that they have for not only us as people, but just the sports, the athletes, the athletic aspect to it. I was so impressed. And then just, it is very rigid, you know, their culture and business wise, and they're focused, but they do like to have fun as well. And that was something too. They created these massive parties with fish and song and dance. And I mean, just so much stuff. Sam was sort of announcing it on our show. Of course, these aren't live and this is going to come out a little bit later than that. I'm sure it'll already come out, but you can just see how proud of it and excited he is about it.
Yeah. The Japan Open, I think the best way to summarize it is it's not just about the disc golf at all. It is you are there as a cultural experience. You're there to have so much more fun beyond just what's happening on the course. And you and I are a testament to that, you know, in going there multiple times throughout the last couple of decades. And I feel like that's true of a lot of travels at this point. It's still that you're not going there. I made the comment that you could win all 7 stops of the Asia tour and you're probably not still financially coming out ahead.
Right.
And you have to realize that's not the point. You know, the point is to go there, to see these emerging countries, to see how others are doing it and to see what their take is on disc golf. And Japan, the way that they've, you know, professionalized things. We've, you know, and you just touched on it, going to the Japan Open in 2008, 2010, without a doubt, the most professional presentations we had ever seen up until that point. And when people ask about professionalism at events, I always used to say, you could, as the USDGC developed and turned into what it really is, but the USDGC was taking and learning from some of the things that Japan Open was doing and vice versa. And I would say the Japan Open or the USDGC is the most professional event in the US, and then its counterpart is in Japan. And Japan gets the nod because you're in Japan as opposed to being in South Carolina. But those two events really like set the bar and then continue to raise the bar year after year. And now every other event that's doing something probably has a little piece of one of those two events built into or woven into it. So it was truly an awesome experience both times that I had gone. So,
Yeah.
and looking forward to it.
Yeah.
If it's practical to be there in 27 in any capacity, I certainly would love to be part of it.
Yeah, late May, you know, that's going to be right around
Birthday season.
Yep. But it'll also be, you know, it'll be interesting next year because of with Worlds being in Portland, that will be later,
right?
And that late May, beginning of June is typically when the Northwest Disc Golf Championship is happening. So, you know, the old Portland Open, maybe that'll all work out. It would be nice if they could find a slot where they could get some of the bigger names over there, you know?
Yeah. Real quick, before we wrap it up then, along those lines, currently the Worlds is scheduled in 2027 to be in June 16th through the 20th.
Oh, so not later. Because it's going to follow the tour. Okay, right.
Yeah, if it follows the tour, it's going to be on West Coast, probably in the early summer. That means Japan's event, which is slated for about a month earlier. So in some world, the problem is the Japan Open likely may not even be a sanctioned event, and is not going to be a major, for instance. So with it losing that, we don't attract the players that it used to. When it was a major and one of only 2 or 3 or 4 in the year, that's why you were going. That's why so many people were going. Without those distinctions, we generally aren't going to get our top players in the planet to be there, which is too bad. And maybe someday in another few years that gets reevaluated as to if it could be. But time-wise, it might work out really well to have it in mid to late May, and then it would be another 3 or 4 weeks before they have to be in Portland. So maybe they'll be able to convince some players to come over and partake, because clearly, as Nate and I will tell you, you absolutely should be there to experience it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, no doubt. And if you want to hang out with the guy we just talked with, go to that tournament, and you will certainly be able to hang out with him. Man, what a great time with Sam. It's really cool to see an early player, but from the player's perspective, and also he was 16 at the time, which means that he's only barely 60. Right? I mean, he's still pretty young. I mean, we could, even with, say, Harold, who won the first PDGA World Championship, Duval. I mean, he's older, right? He's just older than Sam, and they're all going to be older than Sam. So it was great to talk to him there about that. And I really wanted to get Sam opening up and being a little bit honest, which he was, about his play falling off, and that other things took precedent in that regard. And he said it many times, have that out, the exit strategy. And I think every player, Gannon Burr to Ken Klimo, what are you going to do? Let's just use basketball. LeBron James, what are you going to do after you're done playing? Now, you can have all the money in the world maybe, but what are you going to be dedicated to? Because you spent your whole life being dedicated. And Sam immediately was dedicated to learning Japanese and being a part of that culture, and then coming back and running Hero USA, from Innova and all that stuff. So what an incredible conversation, Terry. And we look forward to the next one with Sam, if we can ever get a chance to talk to him again. But yeah.
Lots of history, lots of good stories, and couldn't be more privileged to hear him directly from him as your 1984 world champ at the age of 16 that has had such a storied career. And clearly, he's going to be our guy and our resource to point to for many years to come. And the Frisbee family is blessed because of him.
No doubt. And
all right, appreciate it.
I'll say this. Go get yourself a 176-gram Phoenix, a DX Phoenix, and try your best to throw that thing 190 meters. It's not happening. That was a special throw. That was a special throw, along with all of those early – all the distance records are special, obviously. But like Sam said, sea level-ish-esque with DX, heavy, weird discs was really pretty cool. So – all right. Thanks for everybody listening. Terry, we're out. Much love, everybody.